सबसे ज़्यादा ओवररेटेड कौन है? और आपने बड़े फटाक से बोल दिया निंजा जॉर्ड।
जब भी हम इन लोग को एलिमिनेट करते थे तो निंजा जॉर्ड हमेशा लास्ट में बचता था।
कवर कर रहा है यार, कर रहा है। एक अच्छी टीम का आईजीएल तुझे ओवररेटेड बोल रहा है।
मेरा स्टार्टिंग से ऐसा है कि मैं बहुत सारी चीजें, मेरे को बहुत सारे लोग बोलते आ रहे हैं, अब मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? अगर मैं अकेला बच जाता हूँ, मैं ही क्लच कर देता हूँ, मेरी गलती थोड़ी ना है।
एवरीवन, कैसे आप सब? स्वागत है आप सभी का BGMS सीजन 3 शोडाउन में। मेरा नाम है क्रैट और मेरे साथ जुड़े हैं अगेन कुछ लाजवाब बेहतरीन पर्सनालिटीज। मैं तो जानता हूँ बट कैमरे में देख के दोनों एक बार छोटी सी गुफ्तगू कर लो, इंट्रोडक्शन दे दो।
Hey guys, I am Venom from Godlike Esports and I am the IGL and entry fragger of my team.
सो है गाइस, आई एम निंजा जॉर्ड और मैं टीम एक्सपार्क से खेलता हूँ और मेरा रोल असॉल्टर है।
अचानक से एंट्री फ्रैगर ऐड हो गया वेनम में। कौन सा आईजीएल एंट्री फ्रैगर है क्या हमारे देश में? आईजीएल एंट्री फ्रैगर भी बनते
कुछ करते हैं, कुछ IGL करते हैं, जो अलग करते हैं वो ऊपर आते हैं।
कुछ अलग करते हैं। और आप तो स्टार फ्रैगर हो। मतलब कैसा लग रहा है अभी? बिकॉज यू नो ऑफिशियल चैंपियन, द बेस्ट टीम और हाईलाइटेड प्लेयर निंजा, कैसा रहा पिछला 1-2 महीना? पूरा नो ग्राइंड से बाहर होना, फिर ओपन क्वालिफायर से आना, इतनी बड़ी जर्नी कैसी रही?
टफ तो बहुत रही है क्योंकि हम जैसे कि डिस्क्वालीफाई हो गए थे, फिर हमने ट्रस्ट रखा, टीममेट्स पे मेन होता है ट्रस्ट रखना। बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स होते थे उस टाइम डिमोटिवेट हो जाते हैं, बट हम हुए नहीं। हमको पता था कि हम कर लेंगे क्योंकि हम बहुत स्टार्टिंग से मेहनत करते हुए हैं और फिर बहुत सारे लोगों ने बहुत कुछ बोला एंड बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमने एक तरफ साइड रखे। हमको पता था कि हम कर लेंगे बस।
यू नो हम सब लाइव स्ट्रीम देख रहे थे और हमारे जो रिस्पेक्टेड पीयूष भट्टला साहब है स्पेरो, उन्होंने आपसे कुछ पूछा कि भाई साहब वेनम, आपकी नज़र में सबसे ज़्यादा ओवररेटेड कौन है? और आपने बड़े फटाक से बोल दिया निंजा जॉर्ड। मतलब मैं जानना चाहूँगा, आपका रिएक्शन तो बाद में लेंगे, पहले आपने इंस्टेंटली सोचा भी नहीं था निंजा का नाम क्यों लिया?
नहीं, मैंने उस हिसाब से लिया था जैसे मैं कई बार यसनाय में हमारी फाइट्स होती थी, तो जैसे टीम टू टीम फाइट होती है, 4v4 होती है हमारी। जब भी हम इन लोग को एलिमिनेट करते थे तो 3 प्लेयर इनके जो एलिमिनेट होते थे पहले वो अलग ही होते थे। निंजा जॉर्ड हमेशा लास्ट में बचता था, तो मेरे को उस हिसाब से मतलब टीम गेम में थोड़ा वो नहीं लगा था।
टीम में आपको लगता है कि निंजा सोलो प्लेयर है?
नहीं, अभी BGMS की ट्रॉफी उठा ली है टीम गेम खेल के, तो अच्छा है, बढ़िया है।
कवर कर रहा है यार, कर रहा है। निंजा व्हाट्स योर टेक? एंड आई वांट द ऑनेस्ट निंजा। देख वो शुगर कोट वाला निंजा नहीं, बिकॉज़ दिस इज फनी बैंटर, मजा आने वाला। बता तुझे कैसा लगा जब ये बोला? बिकॉज़ यार अच्छे खासे लोग देख रहे हैं, 1-2 लाख लोग देख रहे हैं, उसमें एक अच्छी टीम का आईजीएल तुझे ओवररेटेड बोल रहा है। उस टाइम पे धक्का लगा, क्या हुआ?
मेरा स्टार्टिंग से ऐसा है कि मैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें, मेरे को बहुत सारे लोग बोलते आ रहे हैं और मैंने एक टाइम पे ऐसा सोचा था कि अगर मैं इस टाइम ये सब चीज़ें सोच के अपने आप को वो मान लूँगा तो मैं कभी भी वो प्लेयर बन नहीं पाऊँगा। और मेरे को पता अगर मैं थोड़ा बहुत लाइक ये सब चीज़ें सोच के डिमोटिवेट होऊंगा या कुछ भी रिएक्ट करूँगा तो वो सबसे मेन चीज़ है मेरी टीम पे लाइक बीट ही होगा, क्योंकि अभी 4 मैन टीम होती है। अकेला अगर मैं थोड़ा बहुत डिमोटिवेट होगा तो हम तो कर नहीं पाएंगे। वो सब हटा और बाकी रही अब मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? अगर मैं अकेला बच जाता हूँ, मैं ही क्लच कर देता हूँ, मेरी गलती थोड़ी ना है।
जब निंजा बच जाता है, निंजा पे डर भी लगता है, तो ओवररेटेड बोलकर
सोलो बचा है ना लास्ट में तो मार देगा भाई।
मतलब
मार
ऐसा तो नहीं ट्रिगर करने की कोशिश थी?
नहीं, ऐसा
जिससे कि यसनाया खाली हो जाए?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। अब क्या है, आई तो ट्रॉफी यसनाया में ही है, चाहे इन्होंने लिया हमने।
ये मतलब आई ट्रॉफी घर पे आई होती, नया निकाला है यसनाया
नया में आई है ट्रॉफी।
अब एक कॉन्स्पिरेसी थ्योरी है यहाँ पे कि जैसे आपको पता है कि ओपनिंग वीक के अंदर वोटिंग सिस्टम भी है, जो बॉटम 6 टीम में, यू गाइस कांट अफोर्ड टू गो देयर बॉटम 6 में।
इस चीज की तो हमने प्लानिंग करी है कि
ये लोग तो जा सकते हैं,
ये जा सकते हैं, प्लस ये एग्रेसिव भी खेलते हैं और अब इस चीज के बाद तो ये पागल ही होने वाले हैं बिल्कुल, मारते मारते।
मतलब
तो
इनको
सोचना पड़ेगा उसके लिए।
कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, ये यशनाया में लिटरली खुले में घूमेंगे। बिकॉज लेट्स से कि ये टीम बॉटम 6 में आती है, इतना तो इनका फैंडम है।
हाँ, ये वापस आ
कि ये आ जाएंगे वापस, ये तो खेलेंगे। बट इफ यू गाइस लूज योर स्पॉट, हाई चांसेस है कि मुश्किल हो सकता है। तो अब यशनाया कंटिन्यू होगा या अब टाइम हो गया टाटा बाय बाय?
देखते हैं, वक्त की बात है। अभी मतलब ऐसा प्लानिंग कोई प्रॉपर हुई नहीं है, लेकिन देखते हैं। मतलब अपनी स्ट्रेटेजी, हम अपना दिमाग लगाएंगे जिससे हम यहाँ पर आए हैं, तो वही दिमाग लगा के आगे भी कंटिन्यू करेंगे।
अभी मुझे ना एक थोड़ा ऑड सा लगा, तो मैंने शैडो से पूछा कि निंजा इज अ लाइमलाइट प्लेयर, तो स्प्रे गॉड और सारंग को थोड़ा अनकंफर्टेबल ऐसे ना था कि यार सारा लाइमलाइट निंजा को ही मिलता है। तो शैडो पता क्या कहता निंजा पहला इंसान नहीं है जो फाइट में घुसता है, पहले स्प्रे गॉड घुसता है, फिर सारंग घुसता है और फिर निंजा आ जाता है। तो फिर निंजा की कैसे ज़्यादा स्टैट्स है? वो बाकी लोग डैमेज देते तो जब मलाई खाने जाता है?
नहीं, ऐसा रहता है कि मेरे को कॉन्फिडेंट रहता है कि अगर स्प्रे या सारंग जा रही है, क्योंकि उनके रोल वैसा ही है कि लाइक स्प्रे हमेशा आगे घुसता है, उसको खुला सांड बोलते हैं सीधा, तो वो आगे घुसता है, तो उसके बाद सारंग रहता है ट्रेड के लिए और फिर मैं थर्ड में घुसता हूँ। और तो वैसा ही वो दोनों जाते हैं तो फिर मैं थर्ड पे आता हूँ। अब कभी कभार क्या होता है ना कि मोस्ट ऑफ द फाइट में ऐसा होता है कि मेरे पे अच्छा एंगल होता है, तब मैं सोचता हूँ कि क्यों किसी को बुलाऊं मेरे एंगल पे, फिर मैं जाऊँ उधर फाइट लेने, तब तक तो फाइट ही डिले हो जाएगा, तो वैसा फॉर्मेशन हो जाता है फिर।
तो आपकी टीम के अंदर भी कुछ ऐसा कि कोई फॉर्मेशन है कि पहले आल्टू जा रहा है, फ्यूरी जा रहा है, या क्या हो रहा है?
नहीं, जो आगे होता है वही घुस जाता है, वही घुस के मार देता है।
मतलब ये सिचुएशन वाइज डिवाइड हो रखा है कि लेट्स से कि आप एक पोजीशन पे हो, वहां पे स्लैम इन आ गया, सो यू हैड टू टेक दैट डिसीजन। आप वेट नहीं करोगे या आप क्या करोगे? आपका आइडियल सिचुएशन क्या है? लेट्स से आप एक बिल्डिंग में हो और टीएक्स आ गई, चारों प्लेयर स्लैम इन, तो आप वेट करोगे या अपनी गट फीलिंग पे जाओगे?
जो सिचुएशन के हिसाब से इनको एलिमिनेट करने के लिए गुड होगा, बढ़िया चीज़ होगी, वही करेंगे। वेट कर सकते हैं और टीम को बुला सकते हैं।
इस लाइनअप के अंदर अभी ना बहुत सारे सीक्रेट्स हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है मिस्ट्री लाइनअप है आपका, आल्टू, फ्यूरी और ये। आपके हिसाब से आपकी टीम का सबसे डिपेंडेबल इंसान कौन है? अगर वो जिंदा है, आपकी सांसें जिंदा है टीम में?
अगर फ्यूरी जिंदा है तो मेरे को यकीन हो जाता है। अगर उसके सामने 4 भी बंदे हैं, मेरे को लगता है कि मार देगा, वो मार देता है ज़्यादातर टाइम, तो उस पर ही ज़्यादा मेरे को है।
अब एक और बहुत बड़ा कॉमन क्वेश्चन रहता है कि ये कोई फिल्टर का रोल होता है और आइजल, ये दोनों भिड़ते हैं आपस में। आइजल ने कॉल दी, फिल्टर ने कॉल दी, कौन सी कॉल रन करेगी, कौन सी आगे जाएगी, होता है ना कि उसने बोला कि हाँ चलते हैं, उसने बोला वहाँ पे प्लेयर दिखे हैं, तो क्या करते हो उस टाइम पे? मतलब कब बहस होती है बीच गेम में फैंटम और आपकी?
जब स्टार्टिंग में तो मेरी बहुत बहस होती थी फैंटम से कि अरे भाई, कॉल जो होती है आपस में भिड़ जाती थी पूरी, और समझ नहीं आता था कि मैं इसकी कॉल सुन के कुछ कर देता था, मर जाते थे, तो गलत लगता था। अभी मतलब धीरे धीरे एक्सपीरियंस होके वो सब चीज़ होगा, तो अभी तो भिड़ती नहीं है। वो अपना मेरे को बताता है कि हाँ भाई ऐसा कर सकते हैं, मैं उस हिसाब से डिसीजन ले लेता हूँ जो मुझे सही लगता है।
अब नॉर्मल
हाँ, अब नॉर्मल है।
आपकी टीम में ऐसा होता है कि शैडो की कॉल कोई कट करता है या फिल्टर करके थोड़ा सा चीज़ें बदल सकता है?
नहीं, ऐसा होता है कि अगर हम उसे कुछ कॉल्स देते हैं तो वो उस पर रहता है कि वो एग्री कर रहा है कि नहीं। अगर उसको लगता है, दिखता है कि हाँ ये सही है, तो वो करवाता है। हमारा ऐसा रहता है कि मोस्टली अगर हम वो चीज़ हम वर्क भी नहीं कर पा रहे, जैसे किसी भी प्लेयर ने कॉल दे दी, तो हम ट्राई करते कि चारों एक साथ घुस के जाए, मार ही देंगे, ऐसे होके जाते फिर हम। तो शैडो मना नहीं करता मोस्टली इतने सारी चीज़ों पे, क्योंकि उसको पता होता है कि कर लेंगे हम।
क्वाइट वैलिड। आप क्या उस स्टेटमेंट को वापस लेकर एक दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ाना चाहोगे?
नहीं, मतलब ऐसा क्या, लड़ाई वगैरह तो थी
मतलब ऐसे यार,
हाँ,
मतलब
दोस्त तो है ही।
तो फिर ऑफेंड हो गया यार। एक दोस्ती का हाथ तो बढ़ा, क्यूट सा लड़का दिखा हुआ
हाँ, क्यों नहीं भाई,
है ना? तो हो जाए।
और निंजा भाई,
मतलब मैं आज सुबह से मैच मेकर का काम कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पर, इससे पहले जो भी हुआ, और यहाँ पर निंजा और वेनम, गुड लक बॉयज। ये थे हमारे साहु भाई साहब, एक निंजा जॉर्ड एंड वेनम फ्रॉम द गॉड्स रेन। दोनों प्लेयर्स रेडी अपनी टीम को विक्ट्री ले जाने के लिए। अब देखने की कौन जीतेगा, बट उसके लिए ब्रॉडकास्ट होगा लाइव, सारा एक्शन उस पे मिलेगा। और अभी के लिए मैं लेता हूं अलविदा, टेक केयर।
16 teams with just one single goal in their minds, and that is to lift that trophy and be the champion of BGMS Season 3. But I'm here to welcome you all to the comeback day, day 2 of the grand finals, where I'm going to be hosting Castanecro, and John alongside with me on the panel is going to be Shai Shanu once again. And as we know, after the day 1, overall standings are looking pretty predictable. OG once again at the top, but on the second spot, it's Godlike. And honestly speaking, yeah, sort of predictable, but Godlike on that second spot, I still feel like it's a little bit too early as expected.
I mean, this team normally, if you compare it to whatever the past records they had, they used to be on the second spot, but it normally was in the second page or maybe even the third page. This time, they're on the first page itself, and they have a very solid chance to overtake the Apes as well. It just takes one good game to move forward.
Hands down. I mean, speaking about the Apes, they have got a really big cushioning in the overall standings. Looking pretty solid so far, but Godlike is not that far away. As I mentioned, the fans would have expected to see Godlike there in the top 3, but probably on day 2 or day 3. But now it's a little bit too early. On the day 1 itself, Godlike is in that pressure point in the top 3. All the other teams will definitely be looking forward to dethrone Godlike from that spot, because now they are in that pressure point.
Absolutely, that pressure point is crucial, and honestly there are quite a lot of those teams who are close in chasing them, right? Even Carnival Gaming out there, not that far behind too. But there are some other names that I really expected to see a little bit more up forward, but they are overall either the last position on the first page or maybe towards the second, because on 8th and 9th we normally see Global Esports and Carpediem. I was not expecting these two teams to be so far behind.
Exactly. I expected Global Esports, Reckoning Esports to be there in the top 3, but that's not the case Finalists, even Carpediem, I wanted to see them in the top 4, at least on the day 1, but that's not the case. These teams are definitely having a tough pill to swallow. While you talk about OG, they've got a really nice cushion to play with. Nothing taken away from Team Tamilas as well. They have gotten a really good game, a really good day in their hand in general. Latter half of the board on the screen, Team 8-Bit on the bottom, Team X-Spark on 14th, and you've got OneBlade on 15th.
I mean, there's yet another team which we normally would see in the top charts itself, and that's Raven Esports. We always saw this team either in the top 3, maybe sometimes even at the first place, and then they would normally be in that top 4 or top 5. But right now, they're at the 4th last position. That is a big blow to normally all the Raven fans out there. But again, one good performance is all it takes for you to try and climb up that leaderboard. But it will increase after every single passing game today.
Honestly speaking though, if you're not there in the top 3 on the day 1 itself, that's going to lift off a lot of pressure for you, man. And then if you try to make that leap after the day 2 in the top 3, that means a lot. That means on the last day, all the other lobbies pretty much going to be super crucial. They know what lies ahead of them. They know there's how much lifeline on the line. And if they mess up even one single game, their chance to win that championship slot instantly fades away. So being in the top 3 after the day 2 holds a lot of value.
Absolutely, because as you mentioned, after the day 1, a lot of teams will try to target you. But again, let's come back to the point that we were discussing about some teams on the latter half of the board who have a lot of pressure right now to perform, and one of them is definitely X-Spark, because look at the amount of point difference in the playoffs day 1 versus the finals day 1. They got 29 points back in the playoffs. They have only successfully received 8 points. That's 2 points per game.
Yeah, I mean, for Team X-Spark, once again, it feels like they're back to the basics, right? Just the way they started the tournament in the league stage. X-Spark was struggling, and once again, we're seeing the same glimmers happen, that too in the grand finals. And it's a stage where you're not supposed to have jitters like these. Team X-Spark, they have had their ups and downs in their journey too, but this year was supposed to be Team X-Spark's year, considering they have already lifted a trophy in the past. But now they're not able to replicate the similar type of performance in BGMS Season 3.
That's a big blow coming in for all the X-Spark fans, right? And I still feel one of the main reasons is yet again just how the team is still trying to figure out as to if they want to play very aggressive right from the get-go, if they want to try and play a bit slow, because in the playoffs, which technically had the exact same rules as the finals do, they were doing phenomenal, and that was always on the back of their early aggressive play. They were trying to find the fights. They were taking the fights. The entire lobby were fearing their wrath.
Hands down. I mean, talk about being scared of, right? You've also got teams like MOGO Esports moving into the grand finals. In the playoffs, they showcase brilliant form. But MOGO Esports too now, looking at the grand final performance so far, they have been struggling. And it's the same storyline just like Team X-Spark, even OneBlade. And speaking of OneBlade, they started things off on a really good note in the game 1 yesterday, and OneBlade still fizzled out.
Absolutely, and it basically came down to just game 1, which was really very good for OneBlade, and nothing apart from that. And that, as you mentioned, is again a big blow coming in for their side. And it still seems to me the teams who are always on the down part of that leaderboard, like the last few positions, as you've been mentioning time and time again, the good thing is that they've got a big opportunity to try and play aggressive, but we don't really see them going on that aggressive note.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before now, you've got the team stats of Team X-Spark, and speaking of Sarang, this man's been fragging out, that's for sure. But still, it's not the exact Team X-Spark we have been witnessing for the past couple of years. Team X-Spark, definitely the form has been dwindled down, and I'm not sure what the main concern for that is. But one thing is for sure, if the same form is continued on the day 2 itself, as we know, day 2 is supposed to be the day of comebacks, this will be the only shot they will have to make sure that they're not panicking too much, and at the same time they can establish a comeback.
Absolutely true. And since you're talking about the comeback itself, right, there's one more team which I really felt had a good chance to make a statement on day 1, but they did not, and now is yet again another chance for them on day 2, and that's going to be Carpediem. Because if you're seeing this stats, it's the opening week, and that was the week when they struggled so much that they were on the verge of elimination after those 3 days itself.
Yeah, I mean, at least they've gotten a little bit of more points compared to the opening week, right? I mean, in general for Carpediem, still, I think so, the amount of points Carpediem has, it's not that bad of a start for the grand finals. In the span of 4 games, those many points, yes, it is not the best start, it is not too good of a start, it's still a mediocre start. And Carpediem can easily recover from that spot as well. All it takes is one solid game in the hand, instantly you're back there in the top 5.
Absolutely, but yet again, one solid game is all you need to try and move up in the top 5, but as long as If you mess up the first 2 games of today, that lead is going to increase even further, because now we are not seeing those bonkers of 28, 29, 30-point games now, since there's absolutely no bounty. The maximum that we have seen is what, 23, 24? That's the maximum limit of it. So you could clearly cut out an average of probably 12 to 13 points per game. Now that's something you need to have in almost every other game.
I mean, understanding one more thing, and that is that with the way things have been looking so far in the grand finals, teams are taking it much more tactical. Teams are taking it much more slow. A lot of them do not even want to prioritize the power play anymore, right? And speaking of that, you've also seen teams like Esports in the past do so good in the power play system. Yes, it's a whole other story that they did not really qualify in the grand finals, but still, it's an example the other teams can use, because when Esports was playing super aggressive in the week 1, they were performing really nice. But when that aggression dwindled down, well, they haven't even qualified for the grand finals.
Absolutely. Hands down, as you mentioned, the exact same thing which I also wanted to talk about is that early aggression, which normally gives a big buffer to Carpediem every single time in that power play itself, is the drop clash over in Pochinki. And that's what we normally see these teams go ahead against WSB. And it also happened yesterday, right? We did see. But that was the only one that happened.
Yeah, I mean, Carpediem did come out on top, though, in that fight, right? 8 points off the rip, that's a really great start. If Carpediem keep on making that same thing happen over and over again, that's still going to be a decent bit of points racked up in the overall standings. For now, let's move on to a break.
स्वागत है आप सभी लोगों का BGMS ब्रेक पॉइंट में, जहां पे हमने कल बहुत ही बेहतरीन फाइट होते हुए देखा, जहां पे टॉप 16 टीमें एक दूसरे के अगेंस्ट, लेकिन 2 टीमें रहे जो कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा खास हमें वहाँ पे फाइट करते हुए देखने को मिले, जो कि मिरामार की नगरी थी। एक फाइट ही है, बट चलिए सीधा उसकी तरफ नजर लेके चलते हैं। और ये वो मूवमेंट है जहाँ पे सर्कल सबसे बड़ा इम्तिहान मुझे लगता है इन सारी ही टीमों के लिए बना। बट अगर आप देखें iQOO की पोजिशनिंग और टीम गॉडलाइक के लिए, ये दोनों ही फिलहाल अभी सर्कल के बहुत ही अच्छे स्पॉट पे थे, बट सर्कल का जैसे ही वो शिफ्ट आता है, ये चैलेंज सभी के लिए बढ़ाता है। अगर आप देखें, कोई भी टीम हमें सर्कल के अंदर देखने को नहीं मिल रही थी। ये इसीलिए मैं इस फाइट को लेके आया, क्योंकि आई थिंक सबके लिए वो इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी थी, बट फायदा iQOO ने उठाया, क्योंकि यहाँ पे चेकर डिनर भी उनका था। कैसे, चलिए यहाँ पे और बेहतर तरीके से इस चीज़ को हम समझते हैं। अगर आप नजर डालें, सर्कल का जैसे ही शिफ्ट आता है, उसके बाद ये मूवमेंट जहाँ पे रोटेशन की आई थिंक जरूरत पड़ने वाली थी सभी टीमों को, टीम iQOO ऑलरेडी एक हार्ड कवर को यहाँ पे कैप्चर कर लेते हैं। और सबसे अच्छी बात है कि एकजुट एक साथ नहीं थे, अलग अलग दिशाओं पे यहाँ पे अगर आप देखें तो वो नजर रखे हुए थे कि किसी भी डायरेक्शन से कोई भी प्लेयर आएंगे तो सबके लिए वो तैयार रहने वाले। बट एट द सेम टाइम अगर आप गॉडलाइक को देखें तो जी गॉड एक डिफरेंट पोजीशन पे थे, जिनकी एचपी उतनी ज़्यादा बेहतर नहीं थी। बाकी प्लेयर्स की भी अगर आप एचपी देखें तो उतनी ज़्यादा बेहतर नहीं, जिसके लिए शायद वो टाइम डिमांड किया रिकवर करने का। और जैसे ही वो टाइम आई थिंक रिकवर करते हैं, उसके बाद सर्कल का चैलेंज यहाँ पे और बढ़ जाता है। जी गॉड चलिए वहाँ से वो आगे आ जाते हैं और यहाँ से एक प्लान बनता है कि अब अटैक करना है। इसके लिए पहले एक दूसरे के ऊपर कंटिन्यूसली वो ग्रेनेड करते रहे, जितने ज़्यादा ग्रेनेड हो सकते थे आई थिंक उन्होंने किया। लेकिन एक पॉइंट आया ना कि सर्कल भी तो आ रहा है, सर्कल की तरफ जाना है, और मुझे लगता है यहाँ से गॉडलाइक के लिए चैलेंज इसीलिए ज़्यादा बढ़ चुका, क्योंकि आप देखें सर्कल ऑलरेडी श्रिंक हो रहा है और यहाँ से इन्हें जल्द से जल्द सर्कल की तरफ बढ़ना है। और मैन एडवांटेज आई थिंक दोनों ही टीमों में थे, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं है। इनिशियली हम जानते हैं कभी भी आप सर्कल की तरफ बढ़ो तो वो ग्रेनेड आप स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट पे करते हो, ताकि अगर प्लेयर एकदम स्टार्ट में हो तो थोड़ा पीछे हटे। और एग्जैक्टली जॉनथन ने वही किया, ग्रेनेड वहाँ पे फेंका गया और उसके बाद प्लेयर्स यहाँ पे एक एक करके सर्कल की तरफ बढ़ना स्टार्ट किए। ये ग्रेनेड एंड दैट्स व्हीकल स्टार्ट हुआ और उसके बाद सर्कल की तरफ हमें ये रवाना होते हुए देखने को मिले। iQOO प्रिपेयर थे, उन्होंने सबसे बेस्ट मुझे लगता है कल के दिन में उन्होंने क्या किया, स्मोक का बेहतरीन उपयोग, टाइमिंग का सबसे बेहतर इस्तेमाल की। टाइमिंग किस तरीके से आप बेहतर कर सकते हैं। टीम गॉडलाइक व्हीकल के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे थे, वो भी एकजुट एक साथ, उन्होंने इसको अच्छे तरीके से रीड किया। और उसके बाद जो टाइमिंग रही यहाँ पे अगर आप नोटिस करें, नकुल वो नाम था जो कि मुझे लगता है टीम गॉडलाइक के लिए एक बुरे सपने की तरह यहाँ पे साबित हुआ है। इनके पास ग्रेनेड था, इन्होंने देखा यहाँ से प्लेयर व्हीकल के साथ आना स्टार्ट हो रहे हैं, तो इसके लिए उन्होंने ज्यादा कुछ नहीं किया, इंतजार किया। और इंतजार के बाद आप देखिए यहाँ पे क्या होता है। एग्जैक्टली यहाँ पे इन्होंने एक व्हीकल देखा कि ऑलरेडी एडमिनो आ चुके हैं, उन्हें जाने दिया गया, लेकिन पीछे से आ रहे थे जी गॉड और उनके पीछे थे जॉनथन, तो किसी ना किसी को तो गिरना ही था। और वो सबसे पहला नाम हमें देखने को मिला जी गॉड का, जो कि वहां पे डाउन हो जाते हैं, उनको मौका ही नहीं मिला। और हम जान रहे हैं जी गॉड कितने स्ट्रॉन्ग अभी चल रहे हैं इस पूरे सिनेरियो में, BGMS के फाइनल में उनका रहना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी रहता है। बट इसके बाद अगर आप नज़र डालें, जी गॉड जैसे ही डाउन होते, नकुल ने बोला ठीक है भाई, जितना मुझे करना था मैं तो कर लिया, मैं यहीं बैठ जाता हूँ। उन्होंने वहीं बैठ के टाइम का इंतजार किया। के उनके पास ऑलरेडी था, S2L का जो कनेक्शन था वो बहुत ख़राब साबित हुआ उनके लिए। और उसके बाद एक एक करके सारे प्लेयर्स को यहाँ पे समाप्त करते ही चले गए। और यही वो मोमेंट रहा जहाँ पे मुझे लगता है कि शायद चीज़ें थोड़ी बेहतर हो सकती थी। यहाँ पे जो टाइमिंग की बात रही, जो कैलकुलेशन की बात रही, वो उतना वहाँ पे बेहतर हमें होता हुआ देखने को मिला नहीं। और वहाँ पे बहुत ही आसान से iQOO वहाँ पे उस चिकन डिनर को भी निकाल जाते हैं उसी पोजीशन से। तो ये था कल का एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन फाइट। आई थिंक आज हमें ज़रूर से इनकी तरफ से वो कमबैक देखने को मिलेगा। बट ओवर टू यू कास्टर, आप क्या क्या कहना है इस फाइट के बारे में?
I mean, it was one of those fights where Godlike went for that challenge. Yeah, the first knockout was found. They also got the confirmation on Desama. But then later on, they instantly just vanished into thin air. We did not even know what exactly happened in that fight.
You mentioned about that scenario that Godlike, they don't actually know the positions of the members of iQOO. So they were just, you could say, blasted off by surprise.
I mean, Knuckle was the one who was a table turner in that fight. But still, if they would have managed to take down Knuckle, then that was a fight for Godlike to win, hands down. And in that one single game, even AKOP popped off in an incredible fashion, right? Taking down Reckoning Esports' player, where we thought that one single AKOP would not be able to do a lot. But let's move on to a short break for now. On the other side, it's going to be the game one.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Red Bull gives you wings.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Hello. Of course, we are looking forward to day 2 of the Android BGMS Season 3 powered by Garnier Men. लेकिन day 1 की बात करनी होगी because we saw one of the most amazing, one of the most stellar performances from Orangutan. और उसके बारे में बात करने के लिए, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Surendra Sundaram and I've got my homie, I've got Krat with me. Krat, 58 points on day 1. पिछले साल के runners up. How beautiful were OG.
BGMS के इतिहास में ऐसा कभी हुआ ही नहीं, हमने BGMS कराया और OG परफॉर्म ना करे, सो क्लास ऑन।
कल उनकी परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छी थी एंड यहाँ पे तारीफ जो है वो मन्नू भी कर रहा है, लेकिन हाउ मेनी ट्रॉफीज डू दे हैव अगेन इन देयर कैबिनेट?
0, बट दिल जीते जरूर है, हर बार वो आखिरी तक थोड़ा चूक जाते हैं, इस बार उम्मीद कर रहा हूँ बढ़िया होगा सब।
आई थिंक इस बात का इल्म जो है वो ओरंगुटान और AKOP को भी है, क्योंकि कल जो चिकन डिनर उन्होंने निकाला था, ही सेड एट द एंड ऑफ इट के हम चाहते हैं कि पहले 2 दिन जो हैं इन फाइनल्स के उस पर इतनी कमाल की परफॉर्मेंस दे दैट तीसरे दिन चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, थिंग्स माइट नॉट गो टू प्लान, लेकिन हम तब तक ट्रॉफी के ऊपर एक हाथ रख चुके होंगे।
मतलब स्टार्ट थोड़ी अनसर्टेन है, बिकॉज वो चाहते हैं कि 2 दिन के अंदर इतने पॉइंट्स कमा ले कि डे 3 की जरूरत न पड़े, बट टूर्नामेंट की क्वालिटी कब आती है? सीजन 2 क्यों हिट था? बिकॉज आखिरी मोमेंट तक हमें नहीं पता था कौन जीतने वाला।
देखिए 2 टीमें हैं which are on the second and third spot. You've got Godlike and you have got Carnival Gaming. Godlike शायद फिनिश पॉइंट्स और प्लेसमेंट पॉइंट्स के चलते वो सेकंड स्पॉट पे हैं। Godlike को कौन भूल सकता है what they did in season 1? Can they mount that fight and challenge OG for the trophy?
Why not? Because अब देखिए ओपनिंग वीक के अंदर वो बॉटम पे थे, उन्हें ऑडियंस की जरूरत थी, बट आज के टाइम पे हर एक दिन बढ़िया परफॉर्मेंस हुई है, ग्राफ ऊपर ही गया है।
Alright, listen, जिन 2 लड़कों की हम बात कर रहे हैं, जिन 2 टीम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, उन्हीं को बुलाते हैं। On one side we'll have AKOP of OG and on the other we've got a boy Jonathan. Good to have you. कौन कर रहा है शुरुआत?
आप बड़े हो हमेशा से।
अरे बस यार। Okay, listen. MVP of season 1, लेकिन वो ट्रॉफी जो तुम्हारे हाथ में थी उससे शायद ज्यादा जरूरत तुम्हें इस ट्रॉफी की थी। 4 पॉइंट से चुके थे, वो इमोशंस अभी भी परेशान करते हैं? Do they come to your mind?
लाइक ऑब्वियसली यार कि MVP तो बहुत जीत लिया हो, लाइक अभी मेन फोकस है ट्रॉफी जीतना, एंड अगर दोनों लक में रहे तो दोनों उठा लूँगा।
ये MVP है सीजन 1 के, आप हैं MVP सीजन 2 के, मतलब वो 1 पॉइंट तो अभी भी छुपता होगा, बट इस बार टाइम है, मैचेस है, सब कुछ बदलने का तैयारी है।
रेडी तो हम है, लास्ट अभी आज ही इतना लीड बना देंगे कि लास्ट डे पे बात ही नहीं आएगी।
ये तो मतलब शब्द कम है, परफॉर्मेंस से बातचीत ज्यादा होगी।
जॉनी, अभी हमने जितने भी मैचेस में चिकन डिनर जीतने वाली टीम से बात की है, जिन टीम्स के साथ भी तुम्हारा फेस ऑफ होता है ना, जस्ट द फैक्ट कि वो गॉडलाइक को हरा पाए हैं, गॉडलाइक को फाइट में गिरा पाए हैं, इट ऑलमोस्ट फील्स कि उनका एक मुद्दा तो वो भी है। सो यू ऑलवेज हैव अ टारगेट ऑन योर बैक नो मैटर व्हिच मैच यू प्लेइंग।
सो टारगेट तो लाइक हर टीम्स वही देखते हैं कि भाई इनको मारना है, बट यार जितने भी आ जाओ अकेले ही काफ़ी है, दैट्स इट।
अभी यू गॉट अ चिकन डिनर यस्टरडे, आज क्या हमें चिकन डिनर वाली परफॉर्मेंस दिखेगी या बस आज बस पॉइंट्स इकट्ठे करने, पावर प्ले फिनिशेस के दम पर?
मैच टू मैच जाएंगे, जो अगर चिकन वाला हो सकता है तो चिकन कन्वर्ट करेंगे, वरना जिसमें जोन नहीं रहेगा उसमें फिनिशेस जितने उठा सकते उठा लेंगे।
सिंपल है इनका मैच, फिनिशेस और चिकन डिनर साथ साथ निकाल लेंगे।
MVP बनना क्या होता है ये दोनों जानते हैं। What does it take to become an MVP वो भी जानते हैं। 2 of the finest players on this stage, लेकिन बस कुछ चंद ही लम्हों में शुरुआत होने वाली है of match number 1।
Game 1 will begin shortly, but yeah, you just saw Jonathan and AKOP on that same stage, and they had a lot of words to say. AKOP is pretty much focusing a lot on this day, and his entire team is focusing on this day too. But genuinely speaking, the teams that are already at the top, what the past say is that they do not tend to perform on the day 2. They usually tend to perform on when it matters the most, and that's the day 3. But maybe OGs came in with some completely different playstyle and with a complete new strategy, and I'm loving the attitude so far.
Absolutely, as you mentioned, we are loving the attitude. I'm actually loving that beautiful trophy as well as that first place prize of 55 lakh. That's more than 50% of the entire prize pool. That's literally 55%. But the fun part is that there's also a big chunky prize for the MVP of this entire tournament.
In season 1 it was Jonathan, in season 2 it was AKOP, but now in season 3 who's it going to be? Global Esports' beast. He has been in incredible form recently. Either he can be the MVP, either it can be AKOP. Once again, considering this man is not stopping by anytime soon. Even yesterday AKOP got 9 finishes in one single game. He was indeed the standout player of that day.
It seems like he's just fragging out all those people left, right and center, and he's just farming the 9 finishes game. I really want to see a hat trick of those 9 finishes and apparently see him probably as the standout player. But we're gonna have a look at the schedule right now. Erangel, Sanhok, Miramar, and yet again Erangel. No changes out there. I guess we might see changes in the entire standings though.
Hands down, we might. As I mentioned, it is the day of comebacks. Day 2 has always been a big glimmer of hope for the teams on the latter half of the board, and my eyes are going to be super pinned on OneBlade and Team X-Spark. For OneBlade too, the only reason why my eyes are pinned on that lineup is because when it matters the most, OneBlade, they do not crack. They somehow perform.
I mean, that's exactly what happened on the last day of playoffs.
Exactly.
Most important game for them, and this team eventually ended up performing as well. And if I'm not wrong, they also took the chicken dinner, right? So, yes, when push comes to shove, the pressure does not get to them. They get to the pressure. But I want to see how teams are now going to move forward, because there's a big bounty on the top 3 teams. And I do not mean the bounty, but I mean that they will be targeted by other teams.
Listen, there's a lot of things that are going to constantly keep on adding that pressure. But one thing that's going to relieve that pressure, and that is the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra device. These players are playing on that device, and they're having an ultra smooth experience. The game runs on incredible frames, and I think so you guys should as well check out this device. But for now, speaking about the tournament, yeah, the overall standing still pretty fragile. Other than that second and the first spot, there's a decent bit of cushioning that OG has. But for now, let's move on to a short break. After the break, it's going to be the game 1 of the day 2.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow. Celebrate every second you are alive. Life has no rule books, but
Game 1 will begin in a moment, but before we do so, we got to give a huge shout out to our mobility partner TBS Raider. It's not just all about the looks, there's a Smart Connect version with 99 connected features, and guess what? It apparently comes with a 5-inch TFT screen. Isn't that super wicked scared yet?
Absolutely it is. Plus it's also the Iron Man edition right in front of us, right? There's the Black Panther edition on the other side. So if you're a fan of either one of those, you might as well want to check this bike out. But in the meantime, we'll check out all the players out there, as again This is an important day for comeback, specifically for a lot of those teams who are on the latter half of that board. And we normally used to see them over towards the top itself, right? Specifically Raven. There's also Team Tamilas too, but Team Tamilas have been performing fairly decently. If I'm not wrong, they also had a chicken dinner in one of the games yesterday.
Team Tamilas is doing incredibly well. They're in the top 5, doing really good. Even CG is doing really nice. But a team that we expected to do really good and is still there on the latter half of the board, it's Entity.
Absolutely.
What happened to Samraj and the boys? Entity has been choking since the playoffs. They barely qualified to the grand finals, and now in the grand finals, day one was a complete flop.
I mean, at this point, I just have to say maybe it's just the rotations and all the teams now getting onto them, because it's every single time the members of Carpediem somewhere or somehow finding where the members of Entity are. Again, we talked about the dualities of the playstyles and the similarities that always come between the IGLing of Samraj and the IGLing of Pukar as well, because he has played under him. He knows what kind of calls will Samraj give in what situations. So he's always ready. He's one step ahead to try and pin them off. And that's what happened even on the map of Miramar. They ended up finding the members of Carpediem for like 4 times.
For OG, Baron is the man who's not been playing in the playing 4. But yeah, this playing 4 has been proving a lot of stuff recently. The day 1 was incredible. Currently topping the charts on the first spot with 58 points.
OG! Absolutely. 58 points, and also the chant that reeks of millions of hearts out there for these fans. All of their fans. I mean, I kind of love it, bro. I kind of love it. I actually like it.
Millions of fans.
Just wanted to say it out loud. It sounded cool, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty cool. Yeah, nothing taken away from that. It is one of the most unique chants when it comes to the esports scene in India. Not gonna lie. And everyone loves it. And there's also been a lot of memes, right? In the past when OG forgot to claim that championship slot just by 1 single point. And then some of the people, whenever OG used to say hoo, someone from the back would say 8-bit. This used to happen. It was a little bit of a classic banter going on between the guys. But yeah, on the screen, you've got Reckoning Esports, a pack of wolves. This team has a lot of potential. Young guns in the lineup. Yesterday's day 1 wasn't too hot, but they're still there in the first half of the board. And that's all that matters. Still a decent start for the day 1, but day 2 holds a lot of value. Now it's time to keep your spot pinned down in the first half of the board, because the latter half of the board will be making some big waves. And it's your time to stop them. As the plane flap hat starts all the way from Georgiapol towards Yasna Polyana, going down south will be a tough pill to swallow, especially for MOGO Esports, who likes to go towards the Snowcap military base. You talk about 8-bit Team Tamilas, these guys will be having a lot of struggles, even OG.
Absolutely, but there's still a few teams who would eventually enjoy, right? Global Esports, 70 is close by, they can jump in there. Team X Park as well, over in towards Yasna Polyana. Probably Pochinki, where we're going to see yet again another drop clash between the members of Carpediem and WSB, which in fact Carpediem won yesterday. But over towards Zarki is where we are seeing a couple of teams going. Again, Raven around the area of that Georgiapol city up north, and then it's going to be Entity jumping all the way up towards Zarki. One Blade taking down the containers itself of Georgiapol, while Team Tamilas will be moving in directly over towards that western highway to pick up some of the vehicles and go down south Primors.
CG going towards Godka as usual. MOGO Esports though, a big shift in the drop location, dropping towards the bridge of Georgiapol area, or at least that closer bridge, smaller one. You've got iQOO Seoul towards the school area. You've got 8-bit moving down south underneath school. Carpediem, as usual, they're going to go towards that Pochinki. I'm still looking out for the players of WSB. Where are they?
They're there. I can see the name just behind the tag of
Oh my god,
Pukar.
I do. They were overshadowed by Pukar's name. But yeah, Carpediem, which makes a lot of sense too. Carpediem has been dominating in Pochinki recently, and WSB have always been falling prey to them. But now it's time for them to redeem themselves in this entire area. It's time for redemption. First man's out in the open. He takes a lot of damage. And WSB, they instantly try to make that pounce against the guy. And eventually, Pukar gets shut down too. That instant confirmation is going to follow up. And Gamla Boy's trying his best to provide that backup, but it's a little bit too late. The man has been eaten alive.
The first 2 points already going in favor of WSB this time around. And oh my god, Gamla Boy as well falls this time. This has been the strategy of the members of Carpediem to send a couple of people over on towards the rooftops. It usually has been Gamla Boy, but this time has been taken care of so very quickly.
WSB, this time they seem a little bit more connected. They know exactly how to counter the players of Carpediem. They're playing with each other. They're playing in tandem. And unlike this, WSB relying more on team play than just on firepower. And now it's something that's working in their court. Slowly and steadily, the opposition is dropping down, but then a big mistake comes into play, and Max Payne instantly puts that nail in the coffin. He's single-handedly doing too much damage. He strikes down all 3 players all by himself. Max Payne, what a brutal comeback that was from Carpediem. A big player indeed was Max Payne in that fight.
Just with the support of Fierce, that cover fire was enough to take one of them low. And then it was Max to take all of them out one after the other. That is impeccable. But this is what I always talk about, right? Carpediem, they get the win. They get those early 8 points. But they lost too many players. But right now on the other side, Raven as well, taking that fight against the members of
my
NTT.
God.
Takes one down, Hanzo needs to find the second one too.
No
And
way! Entity are losing out on the man number way too early, and that's not that worth it. AimGod's getting pushed on, but AimGod's having some issues, I guess. It was just facing the wall, and Entity slowly and steadily, even they wipe out the entirety of Raven Esports. I'm not sure what exactly happened in that fight, but probably some compensation will be there. Raven Esports has been eliminated from the game with 0 points.
That's a big problem, because as you mentioned, even I think there might be compensation, but again, on the other side of the spectrum though, it's also the members of 8-Bit taken out. That's a big problem.
Entity Aquanog's down. Somraj was way too low. Even Somraj was knocked out in that fight. So yeah, it was anyone's cup of tea, honestly. Either it could have been the players of Raven Esports to come out on top. It was supposed to be a 2v2 in the end. It is unfortunate start, unfortunate beginning for Raven Esports. For iQOO on the move instantly. Once again, going back towards that school area. I guess iQOO, they wanted to hunt down a few players here and there, considering they were hearing a lot of that commotion towards the Pochinki area. They went over there, they realized that the fight's already dealt with, and then they just instantly back away.
They actually got the members of 8-Bit too, because as you mentioned, they were dropping down south of school because they could not go over towards Pochinki. So they hunted down the members of 8-Bit.
Oh,
that's
wow.
why this team has 8 points right now in their pocket.
I guess we missed that fight.
Yep.
But yeah, there were too many fights happening in that one single burst. And there's also Godlike and Team X-Park once again colliding against each other, while Venom is a little bit far away from the pack.
I want to see how important the positioning of Venom might be, or is he just out there to try and find a few vehicles to help out his team, because Team X-Park have been struggling for that form a little bit right now in the grand finals, while God's Reign, you could say they're at a pretty decent position, especially the ones where they can turmoil or where they can try and find some good possibility of jumping up in that ranking board by finding some amazing points, finishes, maybe with the placement itself. Because right now we do see one team that normally gets big chunk of points, and then the rest of them follow them up pretty far away. It's like one team finds in 24 points, and the next one on the second in line is someone with 14, maybe 12, and then it moves downwards towards the later half.
I mean, looking at the fight and how it broke out, Max Payne, what a quick turnaround that was. And the crazy part is, he did not even miss a single shot. That's really impressive. To not even miss a single shot with a pump shotgun. It's really tough. It's really tough. Especially in the scenarios where you're getting pushed on, where you're the only glimmer of hope for your team. There's so much pressure, and still Max Payne does not crack under it. Stays calm, cool, collected, slaps down 3 players, and WSB now sent back to the lobby.
And as you mentioned, sent back to the lobby, and that's the first game already over for them. And there's one more Erangel where we might see the same drop collision. The question is, when will they realize that even though they get the advantage, they sometimes just push out so far up front that do some rookie mistakes. This time though, it's yet again Max Payne in the insane reaction time play. Could not do anything apart from that. He also kind of created a crossfire with Fierce, or if not a crossfire, then just a massive fire play, because Fierce also supported him really well through that one small window in the compound just behind his house.
God's Reign started things off up against the players of Team X-Park, where the fight was successfully avoided. Now they move towards the compounds near Yasna Polyana. And looking at the entire zone, with how things are, yeah, you do see a lot of lines being drawn. That's Ocean from the Hindi desk. It's pretty much trying to explain the rotations and how teams are going to be rotating inside of the zone. I don't really see the importance of the lines right now, but I guess it's something that's fun to play around with.
It's probably giving out the example of the locations where Godlike can rotate in from.
That's what I literally just said.
That's about it. That's literally about it. I still do not realize why the center line was drawn. I think so probably for the members of Carpediem or maybe. But the circle still could go towards any side. Maybe the main island or maybe towards the southern island. It could go anywhere. Because again, if you actually think about it, this could very well be a MOGO game if they decide to rotate in at the perfect time and if they choose some good timings. So slow.
As expected, right? A slow and steady start. Carpediem, after getting those 8 points, they're definitely going to be feeling quite good. But unfortunately, dropping down 2 players in that one single fight, Gamlaboy and Pukar, it's not going to feel that great. Reckoning Esports still with 0 points. A lot of these teams, I want to see them go aggressive off the rip. But that's not the case for them either. Global Esports is playing it quite slow and safe. The power play advantage is being taken by a few teams which were forced to collide against each other. But then after that, we're not really seeing any intentional collisions.
So I'm surprised no one has actually targeted any of the top 3 teams. All of them were just allowed to loot. But hold on a second, I see something brewing up. Look at where Team X-Park is. They're very close to the members of Godlike. And that's all the way towards Stolber. And it seems that both of them are aware about each other. And that's why this fight is going to be stalled in for a while though. But there's also God's Reign in the vicinity. If this fight breaks out, the third party is definitely coming through.
Godlike's on the move, and specifically looking at how they're rotating, there might be a clash between Godlike and Team X-Park soon. Because that's what Team X-Park is looking for. Let's be honest, Team X-Park are ready with the field being set up. For Godlike, do they know exactly what they're stepping in? The answer is going to be no. X-Park will definitely have the striking advantage. They might just have the fight advantage too. But let's see. If X-Park blows their cover, it's done. They can't take the advantage of the fight anymore. CG taking a lot of shots against Team Tamilas. The players will find an easy rotation out of that spot. No one's going to be able to stop these guys. And for CG, they're holding quite a great spot. Team Tamilas, they want to contest the exact spot that CG is holding. That's why Team Tamilas is really close to them. Both the teams driving in their vehicles, they know about each other's position as well. The presence is noticed. But looking at the northern side, Godlike is getting held by a lot of teams. God's Reign, Team X-Park, up against them. It's not going to be that good of a feeling when you've also got God's Reign now. And keep this thing in mind, if the fight does break out, Team X-Park will be attracted towards all of that chaos. They would want to be a part of this chaos.
Absolutely.
Try and grab a few points here and there.
That's one of the main reasons why they actually moved up north over towards Stolber, leaving down the Asnaya Polyana as well as their own circle. I wanted to mention as well that Team X-Park, they like to play aggressive. That's the reason that they were getting a lot of success. But look at over towards shooting range itself. There's also the members of Global Esports and Entity. Every single team will hear any kind of commotion that's going to happen anywhere up north, and they can rotate over towards that part. And that's one of the reasons why Godlike has avoided fighting against God's Reign. They've left that team and they would want to now try to rotate back, but it seems like they're going into the clutches of Global Esports.
Global Esports is on the opposite side, and for Godlike, if they do meet with the players of Global Esports, it will be a tough fight to come out on top for them. But they're actually moving in really close to them. This is where the real panic might just set in. But Global Esports, yeah, it's not that successful of a collision just yet. Godlike has avoided the players of Global Esports successfully as they try to rotate down south towards the safety markers. Team Tamilas in the smack center right next to the players of One Plate. This can be a really good game for One Plate once again.
It indeed could be, but seems like the contest with the members of Team Tamilas might seem inevitable. Because yet again, it's a circle all the way down south of the Northern Island. Primos, Peripere, all those areas will be under the contention, and it seems Team Tamilas, from the place where they started it all, is exactly where they now are trying to reside in. They've got the full control of the shorelines too. The question is, how many boats do they have? Because if this circle by any chance or anyhow move down south, then they will have the opportunity to go in and rotate from that bottom side. Because if you consider the bridge, it's going to be heavily contested by so many teams from around the same area. But look at Global Esports and Godlike. I think so. I wanted to mention Global might have hurt the members of Godlike in those rotations, so they went in for that chase because Beast turned on the boosters of his vehicle and turned towards the members of Godlike themselves. And they are hot on their heels.
Speak of being hot on the heels. I mean, at this point in time, the only thing that I can see boiling up slowly and steadily are the southern lines towards Fair Pier and that bridge. MOGO Esports right there, CG's around that area too. You've also got Reckoning Esports. A potential fight that might just break out between Godlike and Team X Park. I'm not sure why this fight is happening in the first place, but both these teams have decided to lock their horns, and they're way too far away from the zone too, by the way. But they still decide to take this fight. Team X Park has taken heavy fire upon themselves, but even a return knockout is there onto Godlike. Venom falls down. A beautiful nade being tossed. It's gonna do a lot of damage. Man being chipped down way too low. Godlike, still the players are playing it way too congested. They're way too compact. Venom is still knocked out, by the way. And no one can go for the revival just yet. Shadow 7 is providing that beautiful cover fire on the opposite side, so no one can cross on over. Utilities being tossed. Right now, Phantom's main goal is to get the fallen player back upon his feet. And even the blue zone's doing a lot of damage. A beautiful nade from Phantom will catch Sarang. And even he gets knocked out. Team X Park down to just the one last man, Shadow 7. Can he pull this off?
It's a big problem. I was about to mention that the lines that they are playing at is nadeable. And God's Reign have been farming for a while now, so they always had those throwables with themselves. And as you mentioned, Shadow 7 trying to hold the lines.
No!
Will be deleted in an instant, and that is a fight being won by the God's Reign themselves. Team X Park facing the same struggles that they did.
They've got a lot of loot, but then Global Esports' Beast gets caught out in the open. Godlike, they have finally set up a field trap up against the players of Global Esports, and this is being executed in the perfect fashion. Beast is still alive though, in the open. He's knocked out, taken to his death slowly and steadily. Godlike, they know exactly how the players of Global Esports have positioned around them, and Z-God can be the major table turner. He needs to go for a big game right here. Slug with a beautiful nade, takes down Z-God way too low, and now he's got his hands on the shotgun. Spamming it away in the front, even Z-God gets knocked out. Godlike is slowly and steadily losing this fight from their grip. And it's not a good news at all. The only player that's a casualty for Global Esports is Beast, and that too, he can be revived. And that's the exact same thing that's currently happening. Jonathan all by himself towards the compounds. His team is completely surrounded. The only thing Godlike can do at this point is just back away and play for the placement.
I was about to mention the positioning of Slug himself because he had an impeccable positioning. And that's where he found those knocks from. But don't wait for too long. There's iQOO Soul in the vicinity who are jumping to third party this entire engagement. And that could be a big play. Because right now, Global Esports, they seem to be moving backwards because iQOO Soul are taking the entry.
Slug on top. He's got the general direction on exactly where the opponents are too.
चेयर में मेरे साथ है राहुल टीएक्स के कोच। राहुल साहब क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि अभी आप देखें बहुत जल्दी टीम बाहर हो गई, 5 मैच खत्म हो गए 13 पॉइंट से।
एक्चुअली हमारा ड्रॉप फाइट होता है. ड्रॉप फाइट में आपको पता है कोई ना कोई एक टीम तो बाहर जाएगी और गॉड्स ने आज अच्छा खेली. उन्होंने बहुत बढ़िया गाड़ी स्टील करके हमारी हमें लाइक ट्रैप कर दिया. सो नेक्स्ट गेम में देखते हैं क्या होता है.
अच्छा एक बात बताओ, चैंपियन टीम हो यार तुम, और चैंपियन ऐसा स्वाद नहीं आ रहा, क्यों बीजीएमएस का फॉर्मेट जचा नहीं?
नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. लाइक इससे पहले तो फॉर्मेट थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड था, बट अभी तो यही है कि फर्स्ट सर्कल में आपको 2 फिनिश पॉइंट मिल रहे हैं. तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. बाकी थोड़े मैच खराब जा रहे हैं, बट हम ट्राई करेंगे कि हमारे मैचेस इसके बाद जितने मैचेस बचे हुए अच्छा खेलें.
देखिए ये तो ट्राई करेंगे, बट चलिए अभी चलते हैं वापस से कास्टर की तरफ और जानते हैं कि इनका जो कहना है क्या उन्हें सही लगा.
I mean, Team X Park, he said they're getting those 2 points, but I don't see those right now. Team X Park is there with just 0 points. They have been eliminated from the game. Yeah, another bad start for Team X Park, and there's not a lot of games left anymore, my friend. It's the grand finals we're speaking of. And in the finals, every single team will be on their toes. They would want to make sure that they're wiggling themselves out somehow from that tricky spot.
Fauna, that's what also the members of Global Esports were trying to do, because iQOO were hot on their heels, chasing them down, and this is what iQOO is known for. They try to get one pick, and then they just follow the other side to the depths of hell. But as of now, Global Esports just losing Beast. It seemed inevitable, man. He first got knocked out by the members of Godlike, and then he got finished off by the members of iQOO. Problems for the man, at least for this one game. It's only Punk remaining for the side of Godlike, and he will now try to play for survival. Big problem coming in for that side. While God's Reign are now moving in from up north after winning the engagement against the members of Team X Park. However, it was not in the power play, so they will only get 4 points.
Global Esports from the left side towards Quarry. It's an interesting breach that Global Esports is trying to execute. But will it be perfect though? The chances of this being messed up will be a lot. But Global Esports is what we're speaking of. And in the past, they have been a force to be reckoned with. On day 1-2, Global Esports got the chicken dinner on the map of Sanhok with a decent amount of finish points. So yeah, it is one of those teams that is quite formidable. And now Team Tamilas in the front, Mr. IGL, he will make a clean rotation. I don't think he will be caught just yet. Yeah, one single bullet just scratching him up. It's completely fine. It's not that big of a deal. Team Tamilas, it's all good in the hood. All the players on full HP. It's all okay. Global Esports, they are itching to take a fight. You can clearly see that. But still, they're just not able to find any sort of foes that's gonna quench their thirst.
I mean, they had an opportunity against iQOO. They backed off. Probably the ground not favoring them. God's Reign in the meantime finding a few players of Entity out in the wild. Now, here's the thing. God's Reign, not quite sure how good that position is. That's okay, either way they would have to rotate after the blue hits the boundaries. One team that I want to focus on is always going to be Orangutan, because right now they've got a very good positioning in the circle. They've got some solid compounds to protect them from all the heavy fire that will be happening all around them. Because there's a big cluster right now forming in over towards the central line, but towards that western part. Just MOGO down south, Reckoning southeast.
Team Tamilas this time, it's their time to hunt Global Esports, because a while ago it was Global Esports who was doing a lot of damage against them. Eventually, the man gets knocked out, gets ran over, and Global Esports, there's no way they back away from this fight, right? And they actually do back away from it. Global Esports, they've lost out on one single player, and now they do not have enough manpower to go up against the players of Team Tamilas. Slug and Arslan, they back away, and now they're trying to play that placement game. Try and keep themselves surviving inside of the game for as long as possible, as the next circle shift's going to be there on the screen. One blade in the smack center. You've got OG on the right side. For OG, they need to play with the open field. It will be a tough one to do so, but they do not really have a lot of options.
Few good compounds have already been taken by Carnival Gaming. The open ones are just over to the east of Quarry. Team Tamilas will be trying to stop any other team who would want to make that rotation from the western part. You could say iQOO there. There's also Global Esports. Godlike are deciding to go for a very long reroute. We'll probably try to go in from that blue. Hope they don't mess up just like my tongue did.
Yeah, English is a funny language, man. Sometimes it happens.
Oh,
but yeah, Carpediem,
oh.
Max Payne, once again, the shotgun master himself. Max Payne's already strike down 2 players, and oh my god, he got so close to clutching this one out. Entity could have messed it up so big, but Equinox comes in as the savior and saves the day. But already the damage is dished out. Carpediem, they've done their job. 10 finish points acquired in this one single game. That should be a big leap in the overall storyboard. And Carnival, for them, they're in a really awkward spot. There's going to be a lot of teams wanting their position. Nice nade from S-Power. Bounces back towards his own spot. But luckily enough, he has enough time to reposition himself, so he will be good. But for CG to deal against the players of MOGO Esports, it will be an easy peasy job.
Good wordplay you did there. Team Tamilas and MOGO just being removed off the brink like that. Not something that I really expected, but the solid hold coming in for Carnival Gaming on that power position. And all those compounds playing around them. It was absolutely perfect. But I also like where One Blade are, though it's pretty out in the open.
Oh my god, Godlike's Punk all by himself up against the 3 players of Reckoning Esports. You already know, it's a hungry pack of wolves. And you know what they're gonna do, probably shred through Punk. But luckily enough, his position's unnoticed. The wolves, they forget a sniff. Punk is safe for now. And now CG, with the solid cover to play with and a really good spot inside of the zone. Let's see if the zone's going to keep on favoring them. But within a flash, you see Reckoning Esports eliminated from the game. What just happened? It was One Blade Sarkar who just demolished the guys.
And there's also just a couple of players of Team Tamilas that were remaining, and
oh my god, what just happened? Sarkar single-handedly manhandles Reckoning Esports.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.
That's not brilliant, it's courageous.
I mean,
what?
Oh, this is an OG's game, man.
Oh, it can also be One Blade's game. Keep that thing in mind. If they play their position nice, One Blade can be unstoppable. And this was one of the main reasons why I mentioned my eyes will be pinned on Team X Park, but One Blade too. They are really good at performing when the pressure is right on top of their head.
And it could definitely be a big performance coming in from their side, a big leap as well, because there's Aquanox remaining from Entity, who will always be a big thorn for both OG and iQOO Soul. They'll have to deal with him first, but for now, Global Esports Arsenal will finally fall too. That's probably it for Global Esports. They don't have anyone remaining. I don't see anyone on the screen right now, and yeah, that is the case. Godlike on the other side though, they're out in the open and they will be taking the fight against the members of One Blade, which is not recommended since they, again, are out of that safe zone. One Blade are close to it. They already sent Kana out forward to try and scout out that area, and now he's also providing a big taxi lift to his teammate.
But yeah, the opponents, Global Esports, wiped off the face of the planet. Wow. They will be back in the next game though, in the map of Sanhok. Before now, towards this Erangel, Godlike is also not in that bad of a position. But when it comes to leaving this spot, that's when Godlike will be screwed. And soon enough, they will need to do so. But with this position, they can also acquire a lot of intel. It's up to them how they decide to use it.
True.
One Blade is on the southern side of the circle. OG in a really good spot, considering they've got the compound to play with. But One Blade, they will be having some pressure approaching them soon in the name of CG. If they deal with this pressure, it's all good.
And as you mentioned, the pressure by CG is crucial, but I want to see what kind of rotation will look like and what will Hector call. Because he's got a couple of choices right now, 3 to be specific. 1 to rotate from the western part, 1 to directly barge in straight up, which is never recommended, and the third one is to take the eastern approach and try to just close down with the blue itself slowly and steadily. If they go from east, there's absolutely no cover. But they decide to actually barge in with Hector playing back to try and play as a support. It's One Blade versus Carnival.
As speculated, exactly what happens. Carnival Gaming, they collide against the players of One Blade, but look at Anonymous. This is brilliant. Anonymous on the top of the rock. He's got the smokes covering him for now, but the smokes are going to fade away soon. Anonymous' position is going to be revealed he will no longer be anonymous. And one blade, even they're taking constant damage from the opposite side. From OG, the circle forms right in the smack center in no man's land. And even one blade in CG, this fight is now worthless. But still, it will hold some sort of value because you're anyways taking out the opponents. For one blade, they're taking too much damage. The utilities are being placed to perfection.
Oh my
One blade
God.
slowly and steadily losing out on the man number. Kana is still alive in that vehicle, and he gets blown to smithereens.
What a bombardment coming in from Carnival Gaming. No one gave us a nuke warning. It was just constant barrage of those utilities, and Carnival Gaming with that, they wipe out the members of One Blade. But even the members of Orangutan are now taking a piece against the members of iQOO Soul, who will try to take the entry from the north. And there's Aquanox, who can always play as a spoiler, but God's Reign versus Carnival will decide the winner of that southern area. Mr. IGL is out in the blue, who can play as the spoiler.
Oh, look at the smack center, though. It's being held by Manti. And I do not have a good feeling about this. Being in the smack center also means the center of attraction. Manti's not going to survive for too long. But for CG, they've got their own troubles to deal with for now. CG, the only thing they need to keep in mind is to make it inside of the zone in time. If they get the time to loot the death crates off the opponents, that's just going to be the icing atop the cake. But look at Mr. IGL. Outside of the zone, he's doing so much damage against CG. One man gets knocked out, and he's almost being confirmed too. As Power's knocked out once again. It's not that good of a news for CG. Hector's driving around inside of the fray. As God's Reign, they look to pounce on the opponents. Neo is there up close and personal, and he's doing a lot of damage. But now it's also the play zone damage, and the opponent hits a perfect shot onto Neo. Neo gets knocked out. The confirmation will follow up soon enough. Hector from the back is doing a lot of damage to God's Reign. One single man, one single soldier from Carnival. Can he pull this off?
I love how even iQOO Soul rotated down bottom to try and get a piece of the pie, but no is going to be the answer of the question that you've asked, because Hector has now decided to go in for the heal battle. He cannot fight it with everything that's in front of him.
That's actually really smart from Hector too, though. I mean, they've got 10 elimination points. True. If he managed to squeeze in the second spot, that's going to be 6 placement points on the top.
Absolutely. And he can just try and go in to loot those crates itself. But now it's iQOO Soul who are trying to have that solid zone advantage. But had they been there previously, I think so that would have been their...
Phenomenal.
Exactly. Gameplay right now, Venom will fall to the play zone itself. So I don't think so they're going to have any kind of problems with that.
This is phenomenal from God's Reign too. 11 finisher points. And then you move on and get a few more placement points to top it off.
Look at Entity.
God's Reign has been doing nice. Yeah, Entity right there in the front lines too. For Entity to make it out of this spot, it's next to impossible. Aquanox is going for that constant patch up. He's got a lot of death crates around him, so he can constantly loot up and go for that med strat. OG's one man in the front. I think he gets spotted and instantly strike down. Punk backs away into safety. But Punk now has attracted all the attention upon himself. OG knows exactly where Godlike's Punk is. Molotov being tossed and Punk is taking too much damage. Oh my god. With that move, he exposes himself and Punk gets taken down. That's it for Godlike. But at least they managed to squeeze in the top 4.
Absolutely. But now it should technically be a chicken dinner for the members of iQOO Soul. As both Aquanox and Punk did a big blow to the members of OG. AKOP fell to the blue, and then Atanki also fell to Punk.
Oh my god.
That's going to be Aru out in the open. It's done and dusted. iQOO Soul should win it, and they will close it out as well. Beautifully played from the members of iQOO Soul. Repositioning to perfection.
A major victory coming in from the boys. iQOO Soul with the chicken dinner, and this was needed too. The fans were waiting for a moment like this. iQOO Soul throughout the league stage, they did not really perform that well. Even in the playoffs, the performance wasn't too great. But now in the grand finals, we do see a big glimmer of hope. And that glimmer might just win them that championship if they latch onto it perfectly. But the start to this day 2 has been incredible. It is supposed to be the day of comeback, and indeed we already do see one comeback being established. iQOO Soul will be there in the podium, but let's move on to the stage for an interview.
भाई लोग पहला चिकन डिनर आदत सी बना ली है. हाउ स्वीट डज इट फील कि जो टीम इस मैच के पहले टॉप ऑफ द लीडर बोर्ड थी ओरांगुटान, उनको अपने फाइनल फाइट में ध्वस्त किया.
लाइक अभी तो अच्छा ही लग रहा है क्योंकि हमने जैसे ही देखा कि सेकंड पे ओसी मरी है और हमने इन मारा उनको, तो हमें इतना है कि हम थोड़ा ऊपर आए हैं टेबल में एंड हमें कंसिस्टेंट रहना है बस अभी.
पाजी आज जोकर को लेके आए और ये जोकर जो है ये ताश की गड्डी में हुकुम का इक्का निकला। क्या ऐसी ही इम्प्रूवमेंट हम देखने वाले हैं आने वाले मैचेस में?
जरूर आपको इम्प्रूवमेंट दिखेगी। लाइक अभी जोकर आया, आते ही चिकन आया, तो सोच लो ये लकी चाम है हमारे लिए।
यू नो आप सर्कल के बाहर गए थे 8 बिट से फाइट लेने के लिए, तो क्या सोच थी उसके पीछे?
सर्कल के बाहर नहीं गए थे, लाइक तब कुछ और प्लान था, वो एकदम से 8 बिट आगे आ गई तो
हम
एक सेकंड बाजी,
टहलने गए थे वो।
ये बोलता भी है। हाँ बोलिए बोलिए।
कुछ नहीं बोलते दिया, टहलने गए थे हम बस।
ओके, तुम्हारी खुद की परफॉर्मेंस जो है वो इतनी शानदार रही है। आई मीन इफ देयर इज अ वैल्यूएबल परफॉर्मेंस इन दिस मैच, वो डेफिनेटली तुम्हारे नाम जाएगी। हाउ डज इट फील टू बी ऑन दिस डेस्क प्लेइंग विद दीज बॉयज एंड पिकिंग अप अ चिकन डिनर ऑन योर रिटर्न?
लाइक इतने टाइम बाद चांस मिला है, उसको प्रूव करना है मुझे।
बहुत शांत स्वभाव के लड़के हैं, लेकिन जब ये मैच में आते हैं उसके बाद धावा बोल देते हैं। पहला चिकन डिनर इनके लिए iQOO सोल। 3 मैचेस और बाकी हैं। वी टेक अ ब्रेक एंड वी रिटर्न शॉर्टली।
सबकी धड़कन रुक जाएगी, अब टीम सोल स्टेज पर आएगी। रोक सको तो रोक लो।
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow.
Chicken dinner going in the hands of iQOO Soul, but you cannot really rule out a few teams who had more than 10 finishes in their hands. Before Entity, it was a big mess up too. Equinox was the man who was alive in the final few moments, but unfortunately was not able to convert a lot of those points in his favor. But even iQOO Soul, they desperately needed a game like this. Day 2 is supposed to be the day of comebacks, and iQOO Soul, they are definitely making a big comeback.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, yes, it was the side of Carpediem messing up a bit, but Max Payne definitely did not. He aced all the finishes he needed to. 5 finishes, 83% contribution, and if I'm not wrong, Entity also had 10 finishes for themselves. So grabbing that third position, probably giving them the 4 points as well, maybe 5 points, so that's also pretty good for them. Stars of the match, finisher going into Joker. I think so the team played really well, but iQOO Soul with their own 10 finishes will eventually get 24 points as 2 of them were in the power play.
I mean, look at them. As you mentioned, 24 total points. iQOO Soul, a big game in their hands. Entity with 16 points accumulated. I thought Entity was not able to get a lot done, but actually 16 points isn't that bad. True. Entity as well, slowly and steadily on the steps of making that comeback happen on the day 2. Before OneBlade, I'm still looking forward to them, man. For Global Esports, not that good of a performance in that previous game. They were not able to get a lot of elimination done. Later on, got picked off individually. But you know what? One single thing that's going to bring a big smile to your face, and that's going to save you a lot of efforts. It's going to be the tap and pay feature on your Android devices.
Absolutely. Just manage your finance as well. That's all we always have to say. But honestly, looking at the schedule, everything is well managed. That to picture perfectly, because now it is going to be the map of Sanhok. We always talk about the fact how we love to see those aggressive playstyles, how we love to see teams going in a bit more aggressive. But I still feel on Sanhok, teams, they kind of tend to slow things down.
Yeah, but I want to see them move a little bit more fearlessly on the map of Sanhok. That's what Sanhok's known for. Just like the Finalists OneBlade, you need to move fearlessly. On Sanhok, it gives you the opportunity to be aggressive on the map. And if you are aggressive, if you are doing really good, well, then that's going to be the cherry on top of the cake. But let's move on to a short break for now. On the opposite side, it will be the map of Sanhok.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow. Celebrate every second you are alive. Life has no rule book.
Sanhok is supposed to be one of the most aggressive maps in the entire competitive pool. One of the shorter maps, one of the compact maps. But yesterday, we saw a complete different start. Sanhok started off in a really passive note. It was peace all across the board until the final few moments. And that's not something we would like to see, right? Sanhok is known for aggression. We want to see the aggressive start off the rip. We want to see these teams ripping each other off and wanting to get the advantage of the power play in their hands. Because that's what Day 2 is supposed to be. It is supposed to give you the comeback that you desire.
Absolutely, and that's probably one of the main storyline points for the map 2 itself, where the teams who are on the latter half of the board will try to take the advantage of this map itself as well as of the power play to try and rack up some additional points. We saw Team iQOO do that. We also saw Entity, who were always doing it in the power play, who are always going in to take the fight against the members of WSB. So I'm really excited to see as to how things will unfold. But for the team who got the chicken dinner in the first map itself, while also claiming all the important points of the entirety of 8-bit, that too in the power play, 4 additional points is what they achieved. And I think so if they keep on this entire momentum, this team can rack up some humongous amount of points on this day itself.
They hands down can rack up those points, right? I mean, looking at the guys, and they have definitely prepared for the map of Sanhok. They know exactly where each and every single team drops down. It's the boys of Godlike. The last game wasn't too good, but this game needs to be a good performance. Godlike were on the 2nd spot in the overall standings before the previous game, but now I'm not sure what the standings look like because a lot of teams had a really good game in their hands, especially Xtreme. They had 11 finishes and a few placement points to top it off, so for them it was an incredible start. Move on towards CG, even they had a really good start. CG might just be there in the top 2, by the way.
Highly possible, because as you mentioned, they also racked up some amazing 10-pointers and then some good position points too.
Yeah.
Entity did the exact same thing to start up their comeback. So I'm really excited to see, but again, we're talking about that itself.
Oh my god, iQOO taking over the spot of Godlike, and now they sit on the 2nd spot. For Godlike fans, it's not going to be an easy one. This will definitely be a tough pill to swallow, but then you've got Team Tamilas on the 6th, Entity on the 7th. Even for Entity, it's quite a big comeback. For Carpediem, even they had a decent game in their hands.
I mean, one thing that I really like is, in fact, the way how Carnival Gaming is now also playing in for the power play and the eliminations, because if you look at the amount of elims they have, it's equal to OG, that's 35, but they've got more points because they finished more players in the power play.
Now, if you've kept one thing in mind, a lot of these teams are waiting for the first fight to ignite.
Yes.
And as soon as the fight ignites, they want to be the one to third party, because third parties come in with minimal amount of risk, and you can get those scrap elimination points here and there. And now that the bounty system is not there, you do not need to care about getting a proper squad wipe in your hands anyways. It's
True.
fine even if you get these scrap points here and there. 1 or 2 eliminations, you instantly get 4 points. That's crazy.
That's the whole point, and that's the reason why these teams are going in for those third parties. I mean, we saw that entire humongous circle all around the top of that map of Erangel too. But I think so the one that I'll be focusing on will be the one that will form towards Haten Camp Alpha, because 3 teams like to drop around that entire island itself. Global Esports, iQOO, and then over towards Hatem, we normally see Team X-Park.
The Rainforests are ready for these guys to step their feet on the map as the plane flat path starts all the way from Docks towards Cow. This plane flat path once again is quite nice, but I want to see that drop collision towards Camp Alpha. iQOO and Global Esports. As iQOO, they're now in the 2nd spot in the podium side. iQOO would definitely have the confidence to go for that drop collision against Global Esports. For Global Esports, they've got everything to lose. If this game is lost out, Global Esports' chance to be there in the podium gets once again snatched away.
Absolutely. They do not have the opportunity to play slow. I want to see how Global Esports are now going to play, because last time when they dropped in on this one, they went in a little bit more towards the south and the eastern part itself.
They got the chicken dinner. Keep that thing in mind.
But hold on a second. iQOO are the ones who are dropping down early over towards the Sami area. Now that's pretty unconventional. It's probably because they're at the 2nd place. Now they just want to play for the momentum.
iQOO, as you mentioned, just want to play for the stability now. Get as many points that are needed to keep yourself pinned down in that spot. Do not go too aggressive. Do not be too greedy. iQOO playing for the survival. The Team X-Park going for a drop collision against the opponents, and WSB, they have been eliminated off the rip from this game. Team X-Park realizing that WSB has been struggling in their 4-on-4 fights. They went for the drop contention, and then they just came out on top. No one saw this coming, but I like this.
I mean, I was talking about how they like to drop towards Hatin, and this team, they just wiped off WSB so very early.
Yeah.
And you think about it, there's no time for third party. They did not even take any damage.
It's time for Team X Park to make the waves, my friend. Even they will be back in the race. This is where the real competition begins. This game of Sanhok will be the table turner. And Sanhok has always been known for one of those off maps. If a team is dominating every single game of Erangel and Miramar, then Sanhok brings in that new victorious players.
True.
And that's where things instantly do tend to shift. It's going to give you the momentum that you need. It's going to give you the confidence that you need to move in the map of Miramar and Erangel. Before now, Godlike, they have spread themselves out quite wide apart from each other, man. Look at their drop. Z-God, Jonathan, Admino, Punk. This is kind of interesting. You've got Raven Esports now moving down south towards Camp Charlie. So even that's quite interesting. For Raven Esports, there will be some sort of a collision.
Seems like they really do want to go in for that fight. And as you mentioned about the collision, it's God's Reign right now catching the member of Godlike themselves. And as you talked about it, dropping down so far apart from each other is what's going to give absolutely no opportunity to you to go for any kind of revival. That's why Jonathan is the first man to be picked off. Godlike starting things off, losing one of that member. And also Jonathan, the man who was feeling himself, who was in form, that's a big blow for them.
Good capitalization, though, from the opponents, right? Realizing that one man's going to be isolated, they instantly go, pick up that piece of candy, back away. So yeah, those are 2 free points right there. And for Godlike, that's a big blow that they're suffering with.
True.
Now for Xtreme, considering they have gotten 2 points, they can go loot up peacefully a little bit more and then try and convert a few more in the later phase of the game. But for Global Esports, they're controlling the entire Camp Alpha Island. And these guys are going to be racked up with a lot of loot. But still, the main question is, how do you rotate out? Because on the southern side of that island, you've got CG camping that bridge. On the right side of that island, you've got Team Tamilas camping that bridge. So making a rotation out of that spot will be a little bit difficult. But this is how the action kicked off. God's-Reign taking down Jonathan. That one single individual man was trapped. He could not really go anywhere.
Big problem coming in for him, as you mentioned. And honestly, Team X-Park as well, just wiping off the members of WSB so very quickly. Hold on to those thoughts as Reckoning being taken down, picked apart. Gravity finished off by none other than the members of Raven.
Yeah, Reckoning Esports now starting to make the mistakes. And this is where all the other teams in the lobby should realize that now every single one in the competition is desperate for the points. They will try to play aggressive. And you cannot really afford to give these individual points here and there away. Raven Esports spotting out a few foes across the area. 8-Bit, they decided to take the fight against Raven Esports. And I'm not sure how good of a decision this is going to pan out to be. There's a big disconnect between the players. There is someone in the back lines looking to provide that cover fire, but that cover fire is not there just in time. As Mighty gets knocked out, it's all down to Aditya, and he's doing a lot of damage to Raven Esports. 8-Bit, somehow they swing the tides back in their favor, as Aditya's going for the revival on the fallen player, and that's it. Raven Esports, they have been eliminated, devoured.
Big problem coming in for the members of Raven. That's not something you really expected off of them.
I mean, look at Raven, look at Reckoning Esports. They're making some weird mistakes. Even WSB, they're not standing a chance in the fights anymore. This is not the same WSB that we saw in the playoffs.
It just seems like the moment these teams decided to play in a bit too slow, a little bit passive, it's been biting them in the back. Raven Esports was so disconnected in that fight. I still do not understand as to the reason why Hulk was running out in the open. Where were the comms? Aditya just surviving in that watchtower is what really they needed. Carnival Gaming Neo though, oh my goodness, they are being picked apart by the members of Carpediem.
I mean, look at Goblin. Wants to get the revival on the fallen player. But unfortunately, S-Power gets ticked to his death. Quite unfortunate. CG, they had a really good start to the previous game. But now this game, it's the complete opposite side of the spectrum. Sanhok is a really bad start, and for CG to try and redeem themselves, how does he even survive?
Where's Hector though? He's trying to wrap around the members of Carpediem all the way from the backlines. He can try and help Goblin out a bit. He wanted to jump to save Neo, but
God.
Just a second too late. If only he would have made that bounce early.
this is quite unfortunate. But as you mentioned, Hector is trying to wrap around the corner. But here's the problem. There's also iQOO Soul around the fray, and if they do see it's CG right next to them, iQOO Soul's not going to let them go away. CG and iQOO Soul, it's been a rivalry that's going on, but... Oh, look at what's happening. Reckoning Esports. They drop another man. As Entity's doing so much damage against him. Aquinox has also taken a lot of damage from that zone. He needs to patch himself up. And eventually, Reckoning Esports will be showcased the gates to the exit.
Entity grabbing those 6 points too. Beautiful performance coming in from their side. And in the meantime, Fierce firing a few shots, and it seems that he has also found his target. It's Goblin and Hector though, who are the only ones who are surviving for Carnival Gaming. Couple of finishes already in the hands of Carpediem. They are super happy for that. And now since the blue will strike the circle, that means no more power play. And the circle shift is also quite nice. It could still go on to any island. Either could stay on the main one, or maybe could go on the northeast one, the northwest one.
Just look at Goblin and Hector. What am I even watching?
I mean, they're sandwiching iQOO Soul and Carpediem.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. But if I'm not wrong, didn't Goblin just get eliminated?
I don't know, man. Don't ask me as to why that happened.
How is Goblin alive on the map? Wait, what just happened?
No idea. I just saw Fierce shooting at him. I don't know why is he still there.
Something's fishy going on here, but yeah. Carpediem, they're on the move inside of the zone. And for iQOO Soul, they were around that one single man of CG. For CG, Hector's once again trying to reunite with Goblin. He was all by himself, isolated towards that compound. Will this come through? That's my question.
Big question out there, but again, I really like how the teams on the bottom part of that leaderboard are slowly and steadily moving up, wreaking those points. Unfortunately for Raven, they couldn't grab anything apart from just 2. So they're still stuck over towards that 14th spot. And Gamla boy, I mean, probably practicing something.
But yeah, this fight between 8-Bit and Raven Esports was really crucial for both the teams, right? Because even Raven Esports isn't doing too good. 8-Bit not doing too hot in the overall standings. They have been losing every single fight they have been taking. But eventually 8-Bit do win that fight. So that's going to be that semblance. That's going to be the momentum that 8-Bit lost. But now they've once again regained it.
But another team that we really did not expect all the way down there is MOGO, with only 15 points. The circle definitely did form up over towards the Paradise itself, so they're going to be pretty happy about it. But so many teams right now that they would need to defend against, and one of them is going to be Team Xpark, who you know is now looking back in form after taking down WSB. So they have started with a banger momentum.
I mean, looking at the start of this game, you've seen Reckoning Esports eliminated, Raven Esports, 2 big names, WSB once again struggling as usual. 8-Bit though, with these 8 points, they've now gotten 16 points in total, so they move above the players of Raven Esports in the points table, considering they've got all the 4 players still up and alive. So that's something good for 8-Bit. One game, you get the glimmer of hope. The next game, you pretty much try to nail that coffin.
Here's this thing. What I feel is that because you only would have 6 games remaining after this, now the teams who are actually in the bottom 5 might not stand a chance to take the first place. They would just try to look to rank up in that leaderboard to claim a better prize pool. But the podium finish is something that I feel might be out of their reach.
I mean, look at Global Esports. Controlling the tides on the Camp Alpha Island, but then iQOO Soul as well back to the roots. Even they're over there towards the Camp Alpha Island. For Global Esports, it's going to be a tough awakening. Because iQOO Soul from the back will try to go for the high ground, and Global Esports, for them, it will be a big surprise.
True.
But where's the next circle going to pan out? That's also going to hold the main
right side.
Pays.
I call
you mentioned right side. I mean, which should make a lot of sense because majority of the land's being controlled towards that area or towards that side. So the circle should form towards the right side, but your prediction goes wrong. It forms on the left side of the map. Global Esports in the prime positioning. When no one expected the circle to form towards Hot 10, that's what happens. The circle forms towards Hot 10. And now Global Esports, they've got every single piece of advantage that can be taken. But from the back, it's iQOO Soul coming to snatch it away.
Oh, Beast, he's actually way too close to Manya. It's either Manya spotting out Beast or Beast can actually pick Manya apart.
Oh, they already know. Look at Global Esports, they're calling the cavalry.
Absolutely. They're ready to fight it out. And you always love, I mean, sooner or later, these teams are still fighting in the Camp Alpha Island.
Oh my god, iQOO Soul. Do not take shots. It's not a good call. iQOO Soul's gonna make it out of that spot anyways, so those shots were not good. But Beast ends up giving his position away. At least now iQOO Soul know that Global Esports is controlling the entire tide on the high ground, so iQOO Soul's not gonna go for that challenge anymore. But there's so much damage that's being dished out by the play zone. And iQOO Soul needs to make it inside of the zone as soon as possible. They're already there in the top 2 in the overall standings, and now they're playing for stability. They're playing for a constant approach in the game.
The question is now, where will iQOO Soul decide to barge in the safe zone? If they're going all the way down south, that would make sense. But there's still Carpediem out there, who they might then would want to move in from that area itself. So let's see how it pans out.
आज मेरे साथ मेरे एक भाई जुड़े हैं और इंडिया के वन ऑफ द फाइनेस्ट एनालिस्ट आयोगी. सो आयोगी, वेलकम बैक टू द हॉट सीट. और सवाल यही है कि आपको क्या लगता है कि जोकर का जो एडिशन है iQOO Soul को किस तरीके से चेंज करेगा इतने क्रूशल मोमेंट पे?
ऑब्वियसली अगर मैं बात करूँ काफ़ी ज़्यादा हेल्प भी करेगा, क्योंकि आपको जैसे पता है ये जो लाइनअप है, ये जो 4 प्लेयर्स खेल रहे हैं हमारे, इनकी सैनर्जी अभी की नहीं है. तो इनकी सैनर्जी आज से बहुत 3 साल से खेल रहे हैं. तो यस, ऑब्वियसली हेल्प करेगा. आएंगे तो और कई क्रूशल पॉइंट्स होते हैं जहाँ पे किसी पोजीशन पे इन लाइनअप ने खेला हुआ है, अपनी चीज़ें निकाली हुई है, तो जो कोऑर्डिनेशन और सिंक बोलते हैं, तो हमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा हेल्प करेगा क्रूशल पॉइंट पे.
देखिए, आवाम जानना चाहती है, एक लव स्टोरी चल रहा है ग्लोबल ई-स्पोर्ट्स, गॉडलाइक और iQOO Soul. ये क्यों हो रहा है? जोन के बाहर जा रहे हो, कहीं पे भी पीछे पड़ जा रहे हो, क्या चल रहा है?
ऐसा कुछ नहीं, हम तो किल फिट के अकॉर्डिंग चल रहे हैं. जहाँ पे किल फिट हमको लग रहा है कि हम फाइट मतलब निकाल सकते हैं किल्स, हम वहाँ पे जा रहे हैं. जैसे जैसे आपकी लॉबी रिएक्ट कर रही है, हम उसके अकॉर्डिंग रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं. दैट्स इट.
एक आखिरी सवाल, क्या फाइनली iQOO Soul के अंदर वो जो ट्रॉफी कैबिनेट काफ़ी टाइम से खाली पड़ा हुआ है, इस बार वो ट्रॉफी आएगा?
फॉर श्योर, दिल से पूरी हमारी चाह यही है. मैंने पहले भी बोला है कि सोल पे आने के बाद हमने को एक ट्रॉफ़ी जो मेजर हम बोल सकते हैं कि BGMS हम कंसीडर कर रहे हैं, एंड दिल से यही है कि हम एक ट्रॉफ़ी लाए, और हमारी पूरी कोशिश यही रहेगी. और जैसे हमने बोला भी है कि मॉर्टल भाई को एंड जितने भी हमारे सोल के फैंस एक ट्रॉफ़ी एंड गिफ्ट करना है. सो यस, उसके लिए हम अभी यहाँ पर बैटल कर रहे हैं.
एक तोहफे की कोशिश iQOO Soul के द्वारा, एंड ये थे हमारे साथ आयोगी. बैक टू द बॉयज़.
iQOO Soul, they are really close to that champion spot too, so yeah, getting that trophy in your hands isn't that far away. But still, you've got a few more games to go before you get a chance to get your hands in that trophy.
True.
And right now, OG's the one who's holding a really good spot. With 66 points accumulated, iQOO Soul not that far away though. We talked about the cushion, and that cushion has been narrowed down.
Okay, another shot being fired. 8-bit, they already de-lost a player, but what a spray
The only reason why Raiden got knocked is because he jumped. That's the only reason why he got knocked out. Only if he wouldn't have jumped when he tried to back away, Raiden would have still been alive, and Entity would have been in a much better place.
True.
But 8-bit, they're constantly doing damage against Entity as the players are way too fragile right now. There's one man retreating back towards Raiden. The revival's probably possible, but even for 8-bit, one man was knocked out. The revival's going to be there on the fallen player. It's not that big of a deal, but the zone's now starting to do a lot of damage. You can see it's taking decent bit of chunks of HP. And the teams are going to be burning through meds like nothing. It's time to make it inside of the safe zone as soon as possible. God's Reen gets pounced on by the opponent as Phantom's position's compromised. And even Anonymous in the front, he's doing too much damage. He slaps down one more player. Phantom's taken down way too low. Altu now up against Anonymous. It's a 1v1 as Anonymous patches himself up. It's an equal deal, but Anonymous will seal it.
Beautiful play coming in from the man himself, single-handedly wipes out the entirety of God's Reign. They took a couple of players down of one plate, but then eventually fell short to take this one man down. And this is what we've been discussing time after time. Anonymous is the man who steps up, but he's the only man who's stepping up. iQOO Soul in the meantime though, firing few shots as Beast was out there for the watchman duty. Has now called in for the Carpediem too. A bit too short.
For a moment, it felt like it could have landed right next to Beast.
Oh, this one did.
iQOO Soul, they're taking hefty amount of damage upon themselves. Even Ronnie gets knocked out. This is going to be a rough one. Joker's way too low. He's trying his best to fight back, but even the zone's going to be doing a lot of damage against Joker as Joker gets wrapped up in a sheet and sent back to the lobby. iQOO Soul, a bad game in their hands.
Not a single point being gained out of this one. Maybe just a position. But apart from that, absolutely nothing. But on the other side, though, it's Carpediem now wiping out the members of MOGO. Trying to fight it out against those players as even Orangutan will be moving in from the water. But what a spray down coming in from Fierce.
Yeah, the spray down was really nice. Carpediem, what am I watching? Fierce is just tapping away as Carpediem. They're doing so much damage against the defending champions themselves. MOGO Esports, they're definitely facing that brunt on major issues. And now MOGO Esports' Destro wants to make it inside of the safe zone, but considering Carpediem's doing that constant damage, you cannot even move in just yet. The zone's been playing a lot of mind games. Teams on the edge lines, they're definitely going to be taking that damage. But what can you even do? MOGO Esports is barely making it inside of the safety lines.
This seems to be like another godlike game coming in, finally a chicken dinner, but they've got a lot of those teams surrounding them, and there's still Team Tamilas out there up north, which you've got to worry about.
I wanted to agree with you, saying that, yeah, this might be Godlike's game, but not yet. There's two Global Esports alive on the top side.
Only 2 players, though.
No, it's 3 players.
That's 3.
And 3 players are capable of turning everything around.
Where's 8-bit?
Carpediem as well, they've got 3 players left alive, and considering that's the only compound inside of the game, everyone's going to be focusing on Godlike soon. The only reason why Godlike is not facing any side of wrath is because teams are busy fighting against themselves on these shorelines. And now you've got iQOO up against Hector, and iQOO's been in a lot of form recently. He shuts down Hector as he claims his loot, and now it's time to focus on the zone.
But can he though, is the big question. Right now down south of him is the members of MOGO. There's also Carpediem, who's still got a couple of members standing strong. One Blade in the meantime are now trying to focus down onto the compound right next to the ones where Godlike are staying. This homestay is not welcomed as another Molotov falls in.
Told you, this is going to happen. Godlike's going to have a lot of unwanted neighbors soon. This is the only good compound inside of the safe zone. So Godlike is going to be the center of attraction. Jonathan's lost out off the rip for Godlike. So even they're taken down with a 3-man squad. And Godlike does not have any sort of finish points yet. If this gameplay does not work out for Godlike in this map, then it's time to switch the pace up. It's time to go for that power play finishes.
True. And it seems to be the case slowly and steadily that's building up right now. Sarkar still trying to survive. Godlike, a couple of players playing in the exact same compound, though Team Tamilas now under a bit of fire. Admino is the man who's taking the fight against them as the circle pans in the favor of Carpediem members. Now this entire northern fight is going to be so crucial.
You think it's favoring Carpediem, but I look at it on the opposite way. I think so it's favoring Global Esports. The only reason why I think so is because Global Esports, they've got the high ground to play with. The zone's out in the open. Every single team will need to move out in the open to try and close on up. The only way Global Esports can successfully pull off this zone is by letting one man stay in the back lines, going for the constant med strat, while these 2 players move up and gather all the attention upon themselves. As soon as that happens, the man in the back will provide the cover fire. And that's what exactly Global Esports is doing. Slug is in the back, the 2 players move up. Now a lot of attention will be attracted towards the 2 players of Global Esports, and Slug has got heavy duty. He will be the important player for Global Esports.
Absolutely. Depends on him how many finishes can he rack up. Punk in the meantime though, catching Anonymous out. But Z-God has been knocked out. That's a big blow coming in for the members of Godlike. iQOO was doing so much for his team, but was finally taken down, and it's Carpediem who shut them. Sarkar is going to be tanking in the damage of the blue itself as Godlike still try to survive. Down to 3 members right now.
Yeah, Godlike does not stand a chance. Godlike needed to move out in the open. They did not have any better timing.
Slug has been knocked out, but Fierce
As Amino has been knocked out. Punk is there in the back lines. And yeah, Slug's being knocked out. It's completely fine though. Still two of the players of Godlike are surviving in the zone. Yeah, Slug was not able to come out on top on the role that he was given, but there's still a possible chance that Global Esports can come out on top. A little bit of a mess up, it's understandable. But let's see. Global Esports are now catching heavy fire upon themselves. Team Tamilas can be the one to turn the table, but unfortunately, their IGL gets knocked out.
It's for now fine, because again, Mr. IGL is the man who always gives out the calls. As long as the assaulters are standing, that's what he needs, or maybe the support as well. It would be fine, but right now the circle shifts yet again away from the members of Global Esports that need to barge in, and right now it's Carpediem who are trying to gatekeep, but they are taking the fight on two different fronts. That is a big thing.
But they've still got the zone advantage. This should be Carpediem's game. If they lose it, well, it's a big mess up. Wall of Death starting to close up. Team Tamilas will be forced to move out in the open too. Beast is constantly going for the pre-fire as even Team Tamilas is making that pounce. And now Global Esports, they found the perfect timing. Beast is out in the open. Unfortunately, the man gets knocked out. The only thing Global Esports can fight for is the second spot in the game. But Fox OP is doing a lot of damage. He's taken down low himself, but even Maxi OP strikes down another foe. And within a flash, the entirety of Carpediem, they have crashed. And now you've got Global Esports, his Arsalan in the back, who's gone for that constant patch-up. As I told you, Global Esports doing the exact same thing.
There was a good call coming in from the members of Global Esports, but Arsalan will eventually now fall to Fox as well. Not a lot of those things the man can do, and that's gonna be it. Beautiful game coming in from Team Tamilas, trying to find the openings in midst of all that chaos, and then grabbing the opportunity to pounce on the members of Carpediem.
The only reason why Team Tamilas won that game is because of Beast. Because every single player of Carpediem was focused on Beast. They were panicking because Beast was approaching them. And then from the back, Team Tamilas found the perfect timing to move in closer to that shack. Only if Team Tamilas would have been sprayed down in that vehicle when they were sitting in there, then it would have been a complete different course. But because of Beast, yeah, the boys were too distracted. Let's move on to the stage for the interview.
The Tamil boys are rocking the house. Team Tamilas, एक और chicken dinner. आज दूसरा दिन, कल भी एक chicken dinner निकाला था. Brother, it seems like things are just working out for you and the team is getting more aggressive as we get to that final stretch. How happy are you with another chicken dinner with the performance of your team?
ஆக்சுவலாக தான் முன்னாடி இதெல்லாம் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா அக்ரெசிவ் ஆடிட்டு இருந்தோம். ஸோ இந்த இதில் வந்து மோஸ்ட்டாக எந்த டீமுமே ஃபைட் எடுக்கல. கம்மியாக தான் ஏர்லியாக தான் ரொம்ப ஒரு ரெண்டு டீம் தான் ஃபைட் எடுக்கிறாங்க. ஸோ நாங்கள் அதை வந்து பொறுமையாக இருந்து டின்னராக கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணுறோம். அதான்.
Well, bada simple sa jawab. He said that earlier we were very aggressive, but this time we've changed the nature of the way we play. We've changed our style. We've not taken too many fights, and we have only had a fight or two in every zone, and that is why we were able to last the entire stretch. Now, considering that you already picked up a chicken dinner, you're already in the top 4, you're climbing up the leaderboard. What's your plan for the next map?
கன்சிஸ்டண்ட்டாக ஆடணும். அது மட்டும்தான் எங்களோட ஒரு இது. 0 பாயிண்டில் எதுவுமே அந்த ஒரு எலிமினேட் ஆகக்கூடாது. எடுத்தால் பாயிண்டோட மட்டும்தான் எடுக்கணும் அப்படின்ற ஒரு இதுதான்.
Consistency is key. ये तो आप समझ गए हैं, but it's more about picking up those points to be at the top 4. Who do you nominate amongst the other 3 members as the most valuable performer in this particular match?
3 of them.
All 3 of them. That is a leader for you. Team Tamilas picking up another chicken dinner. एक छोटा सा break and then हम बढ़ेंगे match number 3 की तरफ.
Battles change, but our squad does not. The result should speak for how hard we fought.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow. Celebrate.
After that amazing game of Sandhawk, we definitely got our winners. Global Esports barely missed out on the shot to be the victorious ones in that previous game. But speaking about Carpediem, even they messed up big time. Missing out from that push from Team Tamilas, they completely miscalculated that, and Team Tamilas instantly took advantage and pounced on top of the opportunity. And I guess they also had the game face on with the Garnier's main face wash, right?
Absolutely true. The entire team had their game faces on with the Garniers win, and honestly the timing that they took was impeccable, and that's why I also mentioned that amidst all the chaos they found the perfect timing because of the distraction that came in from the other side. But yet again, a pretty good game coming in for the man himself, Hector, with 5 finishes and 83% finish contribution. And mind it, they were losing the fight early on, if I'm not wrong, to Carpediem themselves, and they lost 2 early members. Now that's one of the major reasons why Hector pulled that off towards the last part, was because the entire OG was swimming towards the Camp Alpha Island, and this man was fighting from behind them.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stars of the match, as you mentioned, Hector was right there with 7 knockouts. Even Equinox is there with 2 assists. And then you've also got Maxi OP from Team Tamilas as the finisher. Match rankings on the screen. 15 points only accumulated by Team Tamilas as they were the one to come out on top. But Carpediem not that far behind with 13 points, looking decent. Global Esports with 11, not doing too bad themselves. For Godlike, today's day has been a little bit dicey. First game was not great. Second game's not great. Now third and fourth will hold too much value.
I mean, you talk about that Godlike as well, even Raven, it seems like they're struggling a bit. But you know where there's absolutely no struggle? There's just one thing, and that is the merchandise of Instinct First. Ladies and gentlemen, if you really want to have the chance to grab the merch of Instinct First, make sure you utilize the offer that's on your screen right now. And again, this is a very solid merch, and honestly, since we're talking about solid things, I also like the fact how right now, even in the previous game, we did see the members of Global Esports taking the entire control of that Camp Alpha Island.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely did. And how can you forget about the drop collision, right? Team X Spark up against WSB.
True.
That was one of the most weird drop collisions. I never saw Team X Spark dropping on top of the boot camp. They did. They took down WSB, and WSB is already one of those teams that has been struggling in their 4-on-4 fights, and that's exactly what Team X Spark took advantage of. And now WSB, they need to realize they're being treated as the free points.
I mean, at this situation, if you're WSB, then what can you do, right? Because on your main drop in Erangel, there's always the members of Carpediem. If you're dropping on Sanhok, you're being targeted. Seems like things are pretty difficult for them.
What can they do? Win the fights. That's the only thing they can do, right? If there's collision on both the maps, you gotta win the fights. Let's move on to a short break. On the other side of the break will be the upcoming map.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash with charcoal and vitamin C. Deeply cleanses dirt and pollution for instantly bright skin. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India by Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है। क्या होगा अगर मैं सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा।
What's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? Philips One Blade. Move fearlessly. Innovation and you. Philips.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow.
Here comes another exciting map, and that's going to be the deserty lands of Miramar. Yesterday, it was OG to pop off in an incredible fashion where iQOO had a lot of eliminations, but who is it going to be this time? There's a lot of desperate teams with desperate measures to be taken, but is the cure going to be there? That's the real question.
But for the audience out there, the best cure is definitely going to be the Google Play Days, since they are live right now and you can grab the best in-game goodies that you really want to. I really like those skins of the cars, but again, as Necro mentioned previously, those goodies, they cost a lot. So you can utilize this offer on the Google Play Days and make sure you get them out as early as possible and so as cheap as possible. But at the same time, now you mentioned how OG had such a great game on the map of Miramar, but what is it going to be today? Because I just can't do anything but laugh at the fact how there are so many teams and that are so close to each other that I don't think so we'll see any clear-cut winner even in this season.
It all depends on the played flat path. I want to see these guys face off against each other. I want to see a lot of these teams wanting to prioritize the power play. True. It's been a while since we have seen a proper prioritization of the power play just in the game one. The only reason why we saw so many fights happen is because the plane flat path was tilted to one side. And maybe I want to see the same thing happen once again. Make the plane flat path completely tilted on the southern side towards Los Leones. Everyone else will be screwed, and we will see so many drop collisions. Imagine if that comes through, or even in towards the northern side. If the plane flat path is heavily tilted towards that area, there will be a lot of fights beginning over there too. But as the big bird's gonna hit the skies once again for the third time for the day, the plane flat path begins all the way from El Pozo towards the southern side of Los Leones. Now this plane flat path is decent for the teams. If they do want to move in towards El Azahar or even Hacienda del Patron, it will be a tough rotate.
That is indeed true. Only just a couple of places out there that you might not be able to reach. I want to see where Reckoning would decide to drop this time, because last time I remember they went in a little bit later over towards Campo Militar too, playing it pretty slowly. iQOO Soul taking their early exit, going up towards La Cabrera. And on the other side of the spectrum, since Chumasara is also close by, OG will not have any problem moving up to their own drop location. Entity and Carpediem yet again jumping so very early down south of Crater Field, trying to go in for that drop collision. It's something that Carpediem is always doing, right? On the map of Miramar, it's fight against Entity. On map of Erangel, it's fight against WSB.
I mean, Entity and Carpediem, the rivalry goes a few months back. Because this lineups have been recently formed, and we know Carpediem, the boys that are currently playing in that lineup, they used to be part of Entity in the past. Samraj is the only man who's currently staying under that same name, while the others, they have moved out.
True.
And now, because of that, it's a little bit of a rivalry that's going around these two teams. Carpediem, they always want to hunt down the players of Entity, while you can say it also goes vice versa. But sometimes Entity, they want to sign a peace treaty too. They want to back away from that fight. But considering they have dropped in together once again, I want to see how this fight comes into fruition. Global Esports moving in towards Hacienda del Patron. As one blade, they collide against CG.
That's the big collision I wanted to talk about, because CG has been having a bonkers of a day. They've been racking up points left, right and center, and they're now at the second position, equaling the members of iQOO Soul. Seems like Hector has been giving in some crucial calls to his team, and that too was not just to play safe, but to take the fights, to get ready for the action.
It's the calm before the storm. CG, the players are quite spread out. They will be having decent bit of loot to play around with. The same thing can be said for one blade, considering in these custom lobbies, the loot's a little bit tweaked up. You're not going to be struggling too much, even if you do find decent bit of houses to loot up. One blade. Interesting shots taken. I'm not even sure why he did so, but might as well, right? Sometimes you do end up finding those lucky knockouts.
True. Imagine if 2 stray bullets were directly put up in the skull.
I mean, imagine, okay? If you do hit a spray like that, it would instantly be a highlight. And there's also a saying that goes around, right? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Exactly. So might as well just take the shots. Even if you land in a 0.1%. Or if that 0.1% is today.
Here we go, one blade. Running thin on the patience this time. They're looking to pounce on top of the players of 2. And that's what they're doing slowly and steadily. CG, yeah, a bit of nades being tossed upon them. The players are getting chipped up. This fight will be a tough one to execute, especially for one blade, considering CG will have the defending advantage. They're setting up a nice crossfire, and Anonymous messes up in big time. Sarkar whiffs all the shots, and he gets knocked out. What am I watching from one blade? How are they losing out on a fight like this, where they had all the advantage? One blade, they also somehow found themselves inside of that room. This one single man could have been the table turner, but then he whiffs all the shots with that S12K, and now the advantage is in the hands of CG. What just happened?
That is bonkers. Just the crossfire between Goblin and his power. Perfect calls being given out by the team, and now KSR7 is just there to ruin some games.
They do not know he's on top.
Yeah,
Anonymous is slowly and steadily bleeding to his death. KSR can find the striking advantage too. What am I watching? One blade. They were running thin on the patience. It's understandable. Oh, a few words are being exchanged. 100%. I heard Neo speak. I definitely heard Neo speak. Unfortunately, we cannot hear the proximity chat when you're a spectator, but yeah, definitely some nice words were exchanged by the athletes.
Okay, SR7, my man is just sitting duck like there. He's just hoping that his building goes unchecked. But Carnival Gaming, they're checking every nook and cranny to find out where this one man is. In the meantime, though, Team X-Park did lose out on Sarang all the way down, or up, you could say, towards Hacienda del Petron, San Martin area.
Oh, it's time to clear this building. KSR, you're going to have a storm approaching you soon. If you manage to spray down 2 players right here, it's all good, but then he messes up. Oh, he did not find the perfect time to strike, and then later on goes for a switch up. Hands are busy. One blade, they mess up. Let's be honest, the fight was messed up as soon as Anonymous closed down into the left side. I'm not sure, for some reason, one blade surrounding Awareness, it's not good.
I mean, they missed all their shots. That's the whole point of it, and that's the entire storyline.
Not just that, the first man was Anonymous who got knocked out, and I'm not sure what he was doing when he closed down up to the left side. He should have expected a crossfire around that area.
True. That's a big problem coming in the sense of one blade's push.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy part. They knew that CG's players are in there. They knew it's more than 1-2, it's multiple players. So proper precautions should have been taken.
I think so, that they maybe would have thought that their one nade was enough to break that crossfire, which apparently was not. But yeah, big problem coming in for their side. On the other side, though, I did see some shots being fired onto the members of Carpediem by Entity. Equinox was able to knock down Kamla Boy, I guess.
Raven Esports, they've got a really nice field.
They can catch the members of OG a bit unaware, though, because Team Forever normally used to drop in Chumasera against OG, but this time it's Raven who are trying to target them. I like the idea.
Reaper, he knows OGs are in the front. The Apes, if they even do sniff a prey in the front, they will instantly try to devour it. Reaper is playing a really crucial spot. He's got his hands on the bolt action.
Exactly, I was about to say that. He's got a bolt action in his hand.
If he does not connect a headshot, everything messes up. He gives his position away, and then the Apes, they know exactly what Raven Esports is cooking. Looking at the map feed, Reckoning Esports, they might just try and take a little bit of that piece of pie against Godlike. All the 4 players towards Puerto Paraiso. This will be an interesting fight. Reckoning Esports, they have been struggling in their fights, let's be honest, every single time. And now they want a little bit of that piece of pie of Godlike. If that fight happens, even Team Tamilas will be called towards that area, right next to MOGO Esports.
Good goggles being made out there on screen, though. I mean, you apparently explained all the circles and all the rotations out there, I know. But I still just wanted to point out, it looked like goggles. But a team that really need to broaden their vision right now is definitely Team X-Park. Facing some troubles, losing Saranga, Leon, and it's again God's Rain, right? They went there, picked off one player, and then they backed off. They did not want to take that fight any longer.
This is what I'm talking about. Did you see what just happened?
Yep.
S-Power strike down 2 players, and the only reason why he was able to strike down 2 players is because, first of all, Anonymous messed up, and then second of all, the second player who made that pounce against S-Power, he messed up. He missed all the shots.
That was the whole point of it. The second player messing up on all those shots. All the S12K shots messing up is something you don't really want, specifically when you're up close and personal to the opponent. But what's done is done now. That's the 3rd game over already for the side of One Blade, and Carpediem getting a beautiful hit start. Moving up all the way to 67, just 4 points behind the members of OG. Seems like the spot is going to be stolen away on day 2 itself. It did not take day 3 for this joke to come. It seems like right now, it's absolutely fine though. They only had one bad game. Even the first one, they had somewhere around 7 to 8 points. It's alright. Picking up the average, but with the way how AK was saying the statements that they're going to make lead that big that even day 3 would not matter. That's not happening.
Yeah, it's slowly and steadily fading away, right? That lead is getting compromised by teams. iQOO Seoul, CG right next to each other, tied up on the points table. CG, they've got 8 more points considering they wiped out OneBlade off the rip. That's a really great start. And that too without taking any sort of casualty because OneBlade messed up themselves. And now speaking about this entire moment, WSB finally a team that was struggling with all the fights. Now they're not struggling anymore because they're just not taking those.
I mean, that's how they normally like to play as well. Let's be honest. If you're talking about WSB on the map of Erangel 2, the reason why this team, I feel, performed in the playoffs was because they had their drop location all to themselves with no one contesting it. After getting that first wave of loot, they then changed gears and moved forward. Right now, I really do want to see what is going to be the ideology for all of these teams. Because there's a big god of team all the way from El
Oh
Pozo.
my god, 8-bit.
What?
Godlike approaching against them. This is going to be a weird fight. 8-bit with the advantage considering they've got the field set up. It's a trap that Godlike's walking in. But you never know. Maybe Godlike can be the one to come in live and then instantly strike down the players of 8-bit. Team Tamilas, they reveal their position with the shots. And even 8-bit, they're now starting to take the shots against Godlike. Team Tamilas instantly sends 2 more teams in the fray and they back away from that rotation. They still do want to catch the players of Godlike, don't get me wrong. But Godlike, they have no intention of taking this fight. They want to play it as safe as possible. So far, the safe approach hasn't been working out because Godlike is constantly taking damage upon them. And look at this. Once again, it's Z-God, the casualty.
A man who was in form, who's been performing for the side of Godlike as well. And they lose the member. A big blow to them. Even in the previous one, they did not manage to grab a lot of those points. It's a decent amount. And decent is not going to be enough if you're aiming for that first spot.
Yeah, power play ends in a few seconds, actually just 5. It's going to end. So not a lot of eliminations happening in the power play phase itself. Team X Spark still towards San Martin. You've got Godsreen holding quite the high ground. Once again, the same high ground Godsreen was holding yesterday. They're trying to replicate the same playstyle here. But this time they need to watch out from the boys of OG because last time OG were their kryptonite.
For now, OG are still stuck in their spaceship of Chumacera. Can't seem to move out. There's Raven close to them, but a big cluster forming around the area of San Martin. And all of the high grounds are going to be super crucial for that because that cluster is slowly and steadily going to move upwards. And I think so, knowing how normally Godlike, they're really going for those calls and reckoning they can rotate it from the entire western part all the way going north of truck stop and then taking the entry from around the area of water treatment. Team Tamilas though, they like to directly barge in and that's what they're doing.
Power Grid and San Martin area is heavily contested by the teams. You've got iQOO Seoul wanting to breach in from the northern side right next to Carpediem. There was also entity around that fray, but they've already made it to the centric spot. And here comes the collision, a rotation clash between CG and Godsreen. And for Godsreen, they were holding quite the nice ground, but now it's time to move. It's time to take the measures. And that's where CG, they collide against them. For Godsreen, their firepower has been their recognition, and that's what they once again recognize themselves with against CG. As they strike down Hector, the remaining 3 players want to back away from this spot, but Fury and the boys, they do not have any intention of backing away. Neo is in the front lines as Fury gets strike down. Godsreen, they're now starting to be ahead of themselves. Neo is still trapped in that same area. S-Power on the top. I like the stance from CG. They're spreading themselves out in a really good fashion. S-Power from the top strikes down Phantom, but then a return knockout is there onto S-Power. Fights being lost from both the sides as Godsreen, they have taken equal amount of damage. But now Goblin and Neo, the last 2 remaining players, they've got a hefty work ahead of them. Neo, he closes on up towards the fight. He does see his fallen teammate around him, And within a flash, Xtreme, they will be wrapped up in a sheet and sent back to the home.
Beautiful play coming in from the members of Carnival Gaming, but they're going to leave his power out there because WSB are now deciding to join in for that third party. Trying to catch on the retreating Carnival Gaming players. All they need to do is just get some position points, but Neo will be able to dodge all those bullets in the vehicle, able to tank all of that. Was driving the Uzi. Perfect one indeed. They've equated the number of points with the OG. So if Carnival Gaming get a better position than OG, then OG would need to rack up a few eliminations to try and move upwards in that leaderboard.
I mean, WSB came in with the third party, unfortunately a little bit off timing. But they were able to get one single elimination out of that, so not bad, I guess. Still able to collect something. OG and Raven Esports. It's been going on for a while. Outside of the zone, both these teams are wasting their time. And look at the loot too. Raven Esports, they do not have good loot at all. Reaper messes up. OG, they pull off the biggest prank against Raven. They left Athinki in the back lines all by himself, giving the semblance, giving the hope for Raven Esports that OG's backing away. But then Athinki strikes. He was a snake that no one expected. And he strikes in at the perfect time. Athinki's able to find the opener against Raven. And this will be a crucial opener too. Raven Esports, they have already been struggling from the start. As Reaper gets knocked out and finished, the misery of Raven Esports continues.
It's going from bad to worse. That's what I'll say. And now OG can also try to play the patience game. They had a good amount of loot as well in the area, and for some reason, I don't know why, but Raven's Reaper had only a couple of weaponries. A bolt action, if I'm not wrong, that was the Car 98, and then the S686. That's a big problem if you're talking to me about that, because one of the player I also saw had a Scorpion in the hand. But the rest of the players now, how long will they last is the question. There's also Godlike out there in the open though, close by. If shots are taken and Punk hears that, he will decide to call in for that third party. He likes to do that.
I'm not gonna lie, that double barrel shotgun sometimes, it can be a liability. It really can. It gives you that semblance, it gives you that hope that, yeah, in close range you can pull out the shotgun. But trust me, man, somehow you end up missing the shots with that double barrel shotgun. It always happens. I have seen a lot of those mess up moments in the past too. In the officials as well, a lot of players try to utilize that, considering off the rip, it is one of those easy weapons to get your hands on. But if you're not able to find the perfect connection, then you mess up. A pump shotgun, though, on the other hand, can be much useful. You can still keep on pumping those shots in. There is a bit of that delay between every shot, but still it's something that's not going to take as long as to reload a double-barrel shotgun.
True that. Right now, OG are just taking their sweet time, but my goodness, what a flip over towards the water treatment is where we are going with this circle. Teams will be moving up north. Let's see which one actually takes those hills first. It seems that iQOO Seoul really want to play with their high ground advantage.
Global Esports moving towards that individual compound towards water treatment, and that's the best possible position Global Esports can have. Once again, Global Esports in really good spot somehow, but they usually end up messing up. Beast is all by himself, isolated in the back lines. The pack is disconnected. OG and Raven Esports, the fight continues, but they need to realize it's time to leave. The power play is done. Raven Esports hasn't really been going for the fights themselves. They want to avoid it for as long as possible. All the vehicles around the area are taken away by OG. What can Raven Esports do?
Absolutely nothing is the answer for that. They've still got a few first aids and the bandages to work around with, but again, as you mentioned, if they do not start to move now, then they will be stuck there forever.
So here's the point. They're already messed up. There's no vehicles around them, my friend. How can they move in the zone? They cannot move in the zone just on the footsteps, right?
True. It's around 2.5 kilometers away.
So yeah, will be a rough patch for Raven Esports to cover. At least they do find themselves that motorcycle, so they can move up with that, but it's still
risky.
Way too risky. But high risk brings in high reward. If they do make that rotation, maybe something good is waiting for them on the opposite side.
Can't even say that with a straight face on, can you?
Hey, we gotta be hopeful, man. They're still alive inside of the game, cooking with 3 players. Anything can happen.
I mean, alright, understandable, but look at the amount of cluster that's already forming in over towards the southern as well as the western part. So the question is, where are they going to barge in from?
I think the circle's just going to keep on moving up north from here on out.
I don't think so. I guess it will go a bit more centric.
I think so. It'll move in the open fields right next to water treatment on the right side.
I think so. It's going to move a bit more center. Basically, Global Esports are still going to be in the smack center for the next one. That's what I think.
I mean, Global Esports hands down has the best spot. Nothing taken away from that. There was a bit of that disconnect between the players too. Global Esports, all the 4 players up and alive. I just love the guts on this team. Yeah, they're forced to play it passive. They do not have any other option because there's just not any fights breaking out. If there was a fight breaking out, you would see Global Esports third party that, 100%.
True. I was being asked a question for the teams that I think will make a comeback today, and I mentioned that maybe it's going to be Global Esports and Carpediem. Well, Carpediem are slowly and steadily showing it. But with the way how iQOO Soul, Team Tamilas, Carnival Gaming, they've been playing, I mean, pretty good, if you ask me. Constant points in every single game. iQOO Soul started things off with the chicken dinner as well. Carnival Gaming.
Look at CG, man. The only team with 12 finish points.
Crazy.
At the start, they get 8 finish points up against 1 blade. Later on, they move up in the power play itself, get themselves engaged in another fight. Yeah, 2 players are taken down, but 12 points off of those 2 fights, so worth it. And this is what I'm talking about. It's CG who took the advantage of the power play. The other teams as well should learn from this. And keep this thing in mind. The more they keep on getting the points, the closer they're getting to the first spot. And OG's leap that they were hoping for, the lead that they were hoping for in the overall standings, they won't be able to make it because CG is way too close behind their backs.
You would never expect any team wait out so very long in the blue. Wait a second. Did Aquanox get a pick off of a bolt action?
What am I watching? Godlike is moving outside of the zone in the blue to take the fight against Raven Esports. What just happened?
It's just, again, I was about to mention that no one would expect a team so far out in the blue, so far late in the game itself. But Godlike, they were sticking there.
What is going on?
How
do they even sense a team around that area?
I think so. It's because when Atanki fired the shots, Godlike were in the vicinity.
Oh, big mess up. Godlike, they cannot lose out on Admino. But yeah, the man's been claimed already. Godlike, no, they lost the advantage in the fight. Now the man who's left alive, which is AimGod, can have a decent chance to pull his team back from this big dicey spot. Hanzo was knocked out. The confirmation will follow up as Jonathan is there. AimGod's pinned, but he moves back into cover in the nick of time. Does AimGod have any first aids to patch himself up? That's the main concern. He's slowly and steadily ticking away to his death. As AimGod, he patches himself up with that first aid. Even Punk is way too low. One single nade, even tossed close, and Punk will be dealt with. AimGod, he cannot even move out just yet. From the back, it's Jonathan. From the front, it's Punk. So yeah, Godlike, they have surrounded both the sides for AimGod.
Oh my
God. A beautiful nade, maybe could have been. It was actually a flashbang. It does flash his Punk, and that's why I went for the random spams in the front. AimGod needs to deal with Jonathan, but as soon as he turns around, he gets wrapped up.
I was about to say that was such a good smoke, blocking off the vision of Jonathan while he tries to take the fight with Punk. But Punk did not give him a fight at that point. It was just some nades being thrown left and right. But if you ask me, was this fight worth it for Godlike? It's absolutely not. But what a shot by Arman.
Nice spray coming out. Aru gets knocked out from OG. WSB, they're on the path of redemption. That makes a lot of sense. All the fights they've been taking today. Today's day has just been bad in general for WSB. Erangel was bad. Move on towards Sanhok. It wasn't that good. And now this game, at least they're able to get something done. They've gotten a few elimination points here and there that they have wrapped up. Reckoning Esports, in a decent spot. Team X Spark's Ninja Jar messes up. His position gets compromised. Team X Spark, they're in a really dominating spot, but that spot can easily be taken away by anyone else. There's too many teams eyeing out the same vicinity.
There's just too many teams left out here in general. 13 teams, 40 players. But again, these are just the Miramar shenanigans we normally see. But how and why did OG lose the members? It's like you make friends along the way. OG lost the friends along the way. Only Wizjord is the one who's remaining. And that too up north, outside of that zone. A big problem coming in for their side, and even Godlike are being picked apart. A big blow. Global Esports were in the smack center, and the circle moves southwards. Ha ha ha, we're both wrong.
Interesting. Circle moving down south. Okay. I thought from here on out the circle's probably going to keep on moving up north, and that's what Global Esports thought too. But yeah, now Global Esports, it's time for them to breach through all the teams that are holding their grounds. There will be a lot of teams wanting to stop the players of Global Esports from entering inside of the zone. And first is going to be Team Tamilas. And Team Tamilas needs to fall down against Global Esports right here, right now. That's the only way Global Esports can move in the safety lines.
काफी गेमा गेमी चल रही है और इसके बीच में हम लेके आ चुके हैं Zipex, one of the finest analyst coaches. So Zipex, पहला सवाल यही रहेगा कि जब टीम टूटी थी, as a coach आपका रिएक्शन क्या था? Were you prepared for it?
I think सबसे पहले तो काफ़ी शॉकिंग था मेरे लिए, क्योंकि ईयर स्टार्ट होने के में ही हमने जीता था एक बहुत मेजर इवेंट. उसके बाद फिर ऐसे ही टूट जाना तो बहुत शॉकिंग था मेरे लिए. स्पेशली दो हिस्सों में होना तो बहुत शॉकिंग था. मेरे पास था कि मैं लेफ्ट जाऊँ या राइट जाऊँ, तो मेरे लिए तो बहुत शॉकिंग था और अनएक्सपेक्टेड था.
क्विक प्रेडिक्शन, ये गेम कौन जीत रहा है?
एंटिटी.
एंटिटी it is. So back to my boys.
It's kind of weird to ask a coach prediction, especially when his team is in the best possible spot. So his answer will definitely be Entity. I mean, they're in a really good spot, but as I mentioned, the team usually, when they're in a really good spot, they're also going to be the center of attraction. Just like the way Carpediem was in the previous game, right? Everyone was eyeing out that position. Even Global Esports was in a really tricky spot in that game of Sanhok. They still try to make the most of it. But now Team X Spark, considering they need to move out in the open, leaving that entire Hacienda del Patron. And Team X Spark, for them, it will be a rough patch. Reckoning Esports is Hunter spotted, the man gets knocked out, Spray God misses a lot of those shots from that spray, but eventually he connects the crucial ones. Hunters is knocked out, Spray God, it's the patience game now. He collects that first aid, slowly and steadily tries to close on up, and he loses all the bullets. Empties the mag, unfortunately, he did not reload that M4, and that's where he miscalculated everything. And on the opposite side, even MOGO Esports, they end up wiping out the entirety of 8-bit.
Big problem coming in for 8-bit, but at the same time for Carpediem too. Global Esports finished all of them off, but right now it's iQOO Soul trying to take the advantage over the members of WSB, but it's only Knuckle, the man, the support, the myth, the legend who has been performing this entire tournament, needs to stand his ground as Shikari moves forward.
My God!
But will be demolished as Knuckle will revive the team and wins out the duel to wipe out WSB.
Nicely done by Knuckle. Team Tamilas still alive and cooking inside of the game. Down to a 3-man squad. Team Tamilas somehow always super consistent. They've only gotten 2 finish points so far. But speak of the consistency, and CG, they reek of it. With 15 finish points, CG's looking really nice. And still, they're going to try to topple it up with a few placement points. OG, they have been eliminated from the game. I guess their dream to build that big lead, it's not going to be there anymore, as it's being snatched away by CG. And now for CG, they need to face off against iQOO Soul. CG, they've already done their job in this game. They've got 15 finish points, and add that on with 1 placement points. That's 16 points in total from this game.
That's already pretty big as you're talking to me about it. Justin was the man who found out Neo at the end, but Entity are fighting the members out there in the open though, making things difficult for Team Tamilas as well, as Raiden will try to pick one pick off as well on Mr. IGL, but it has been stolen away by MOGO. They're doing a lot of stealings out there though.
Whichever team gets a lot of points in the power play, they're the one to instantly propel themselves big in the overall standings. But right now,
Beauty.
focusing on this fight, one single nade as it rains down on Team Tamilas. They have been eliminated from the game. Reckoning Esports too, they instantly follow up that fray. And MOGO Esports, the defending champions, aiming for a big game. Entity with the positioning advantage, Delta PG pinned down behind this rock. Utilities are being tossed from both the sides as they're chipping away the opponents. And Delta PG, he instantly patches himself up. Now tries to cook up another nade. Entity, if they run thin on patience, everything will come collapsing down. iQOO Soul as well, wanting to be a part of this action. There's two men of iQOO Soul in the front, while one man is still all the way in the back, going for that constant med strat.
And as you mentioned about it, it's actually 3 in total though. Joker's name was hidden behind Knuckle as they're both still alive, kicking, going. Ronnie will also join this team. Seems like the meds are now over and there's not a lot of players out in the open though. There's a lot of rage and the Entity team has got the entire compound, the only hard cover you can actually find in these areas. Did he throw the bandages?
For some reason, I feel like it's not going to be Entity. It's neither going to be MOGO. It will be iQOO Soul to win this game.
It is highly possible because a fight between Entity and MOGO can break out any time for iQOO Soul.
iQOO Soul, they know. For them, the only way to win this game is by showing patience. Let these two teams duke it out. And then either go for the third party or just wait patiently. Let these two teams fight. And look at what Ronnie's doing. Oh, the man's moved up from the right lines, but he's getting a little bit too impatient. iQOO Soul should not have done this. Ronnie, man's a little bit too overeager. Manya was the casualty off the rip. iQOO Soul now down to a 3-man squad where Ronnie is going to fall prey as well. iQOO Soul, a 2-man squad in this game. Joker and Knuckle right next to each other. And even iQOO Soul, they have been super consistent today. They've had a really good day in general. Knuckle, the man gets ran over. The last man, Joker as well, instantly gets devoured as MOGO Esports now in the advantageous side of things. But Entity slowly and steadily dropping down the players of MOGO Esports too. It's Toy in the front line to lead the pack, and the man's doing a lot of damage single-handedly. 2 players down in Justin. Even Justin gets knocked out. Now it's all down to this one last man, Destro, the IGL himself. Raiden was the casualty in this fight, but Equinox is creating that off angle from the back. He's going for the flank. Somraj in the front, as you'd see Toy wanting to lead the pack, and now Equinox is closed on up. With the shotgun, he hands out one death blow to the fallen teammate, and now Destro is the only man left alive, and Destro's got too many players to deal with. Entity to close the deal and seal that game off.
Reactions being heard here and there, but a team that's on our screen is the one that's not giving any reaction at all. Finally, some high fives, which Equinox are waiting for. An important chicken dinner for Entity, because this is going to give them a big boost out in the lobby, in the overall rankings. Equinox winning out in the game as well as in the rock, paper, scissors in front of us too. But some sad faces on side of MOGO. They could have claimed the chicken, and they claimed some good amount of scrap points left, right, and center though.
You can't see MOGO Esports is completely disappointed after losing that game. Wiping out iQOO Soul, MOGO Esports was feeling in the groove. But let's move on to the interview on the stage.
कॉन्फिडेंस जो है वो दोधारी तलवार है, क्योंकि अभी जब मैच के बीच में हमने आपके कोच से बात की थी, साइपेक्स, उन्होंने कह दिया कि भाई ये वाला मैच जो है, ये वाला चिकन डिनर एंटिटी निकालने वाले हैं. इज देयर अ फोरसाइट जो शायद हम लोग नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हैं, जो उनको पता था हमें नहीं?
आई गेस ये इतने टाइम से जो इतने साल से जो सिनर्जी बिल्डअप हुआ है वो उसी का नतीजा है. उसका गट फीलिंग होगा, क्या पता.
यू नो, लास्ट फाइट जो चल रही थी वहाँ पे सोल भी आपके साथ में था, मोगो भी आपके साथ में था, बट हाउ मच डिड दैट हेल्प कि दे वेंट इन फॉर अ टसल एंड यू हैड द हाई ग्राउंड देयर?
एक्चुअली मैं नॉक खा गया, वरना मैं ही सोल को मारने जा रहा था. पर अच्छा हुआ मैं सफरी का चिकन भी दे दिया उन्होंने.
सो हम आपकी टीम जो है इट्स नोन फॉर इट्स लेट कमबैक्स, तो क्या ये लेट कमबैक हम देखने को मिलने वाला है? क्योंकि यू गाइज वर 8th बिफोर दिस मैच स्टार्टेड, और ये फॉर्मेट ऐसा है दैट यू हैव टू पुट इन कंसिस्टेंट परफॉर्मेंसेस अगर आपको एंड में ट्रॉफी उठानी है.
कमबैक तो अभी नहीं, अभी हम लोग बैक इन द गेम आ रहे कि हाँ कल के लिए हम लोग कम्पीट कर सके. हमारा डे 1 उतना कुछ खास नहीं गया था, अभी हम लोग रिकवरी फेज में हैं.
आपका मिरामार स्ट्रॉन्ग है, लेकिन बाकी मैप्स जो हैं उस पे इज दिस गोइंग टू गेट ईजियर फॉर यू, क्योंकि आपने अब वो कमबैक कर लिया है, वो मोमेंटम आ चुका है?
हाँ, ये चिकन हमें एक मोमेंटम तो देगा ही. देखते कि आगे आने वाले मैचेस में कैसा रहता है हमारा परफॉर्मेंस.
सॉम बड़ी मुस्कुरा तो दे यार, चिकन डिनर जीते हो.
चिकन ही तो है.
Listen, they have a lot to do. 5 more matches to go before one team lifts the trophy. लेकिन अब 6 more matches to go. लेकिन अभी बहुत important कि अगला मैच आ रहा है on the other side of this break.
लाइनअप बदला है, इरादे नहीं. इस बार ट्रॉफी हमारी है, कोई बहाने नहीं. 1 गेम 1 एंटिटी.
Wow. Circle to search. Only on Android.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Another day, another road, and we go. Arrive with a win, moving up, we know where to begin. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Arrive we go. Wicked on the wheels, get wicked on the wheels. Another day, another road, and we go.
ये वही जगह है. क्या होगा अगर मैं ये सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा.
Red Bull gives you wings.
ये वही जगह है. क्या होगा अगर मैं ये सब कुछ तबाह कर दूं तो? मैं इस टावर के ऊपर पहुंच कर ही रहूंगा.
Everywhere I go, dirt and pollution dull my skin.
Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. 2x brightening power. With charcoal and vitamin C, deeply cleanses dirt and pollution to fight dullness for instantly bright skin. Garnier Men Turbo Bright Double Action Face Wash. Try the #1 men's face wash in India. By Garnier Men.
Red Bull gives you wings.
To live your life the way you want. Compete like the toughest challenger. Dance like there's no tomorrow. Celebrate every second you are alive. Life has no rule books.
One hell of a game for Carnival Gaming, but then you move on towards the chicken dinner moment. MOGO Esports unfortunately missed out on that just by an inch. Even iQOO Seoul had quite a consistent ending, but Carnival Gaming is getting way too close to that first spot, and they've actually gotten that first spot in their hands too right now. But you know what? Another thing that might just make you feel a little bit better, and that's going to entertain you a lot, that's going to be the Crunchyroll, because it's the largest India's anime library with over 800 plus shows, and not just that, you can watch those shows in your preferred language. Buy now just for 79 rupees per month.
Absolutely. It's a super less price to pay for watching all of your favorite animes out there. Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer. But honestly, the man who was literally being the Gojo Satoru of this entire map was Goblin. 6 finishes out there with 55% finish contribution. Carnival Gaming, you mentioned about them, were doing such a flawless job right now because they had the maximum elimination points.
Yeah, I mean, moving towards the stars of the match, it's going to be Shadow 7-2 as the best companion, and then Toy's going to be the finisher. And then moving towards the match rankings, Entity with the most amount of points accumulated from that game, 20 points in total. MOGO Esports not doing too bad with 18 points, and then you've got CG with 16. Of course, CG, they had quite a banger of a game, but only if they would have gotten a little bit too close to that top 3, then things would have been much better.
Absolutely. I also think the same thing where they had a good amount of elimination points. I was hoping for them to probably end up at maybe the 3rd place or the 2nd place if the match strats worked fine, but that was unfortunately not the case. But talking about some unfortunate things, Orangutan not performing on day 2 now. That's been 2 maps where they have underperformed, and even on map 1, if you ask me, 8 points are not enough to keep you on top.
Yeah, for OG, it's been quite a rough story, I'm not gonna lie. And as you mentioned, even the boys were looking forward for the day 2 as the day where they're gonna build a really big lead. But then it's been the complete opposite storyline. Instead, OG, they've been pushed down to the 2nd spot in the overall standings, while Carnival Gaming, they have taken their spot away with 76 points. But there's not a lot of points separating the 1st and the 2nd. It's just 2 points.
Out of 76, 63 are the finish points for this team. They've got over 50 finishes. They are playing out of their mind. Bonkers, if you ask me. And honestly, down towards the last 2 teams, it seems like I think so the things are probably final nails are being put in the coffin.
Now, I was about to say, that's what you call realizing your own strengths and utilizing those in the battlegrounds when it matters the most. It's the critical time. It's the day 2. You expect some bounce backs, but instead CG, they have solidified their spot on the 1st half of the board on the 1st spot itself. So CG's looking pretty good. For OG, day 2 has been a massive choke where they haven't been able to perform just the way they expected, but they're not doing too bad yet. They're in the top 2. That's really good. Day 3, though, now for OG holds too much value, and even for CG. In general, the teams in the 1st half of the board, day 3 is going to be super crucial, while the latter half of the board will probably try to spoil their game. But there's still one more game to go for today's day.
I mean, it totally depends which team might actually end up on top. And for some reason, you know, there's some voice inside of me that's constantly saying it might actually be iQOO Soul to top the charts with the way how this team has been playing, with the way how they've constantly been going in for those circle rotations and ending up in at least that top 5 position. The consistency is reeking out of all these 4 players.
Let's speak about the teams that did not perform at all today. Global Esports is one of those. Yeah, Sanhok was really nice, but then after that, Global Esports, they haven't been able to find their momentum. And this is what I'm saying. Global Esports should realize their strengths and start taking fights in the power play, just like what CG's doing. If Global Esports goes for a drop collision, gets those 8 points off the rip, then they can go for that classic and the slow play style. But then Global Esports should definitely rely on the firepower. Carpediem, the same thing. We're back to the square 0. We're back in the map of Erangel, where they're going to drop clash against WSP. Those 8 points will be given to them, but then they need to make sure that they're grabbing those 8 points in a flawless manner.
Are they going to drop clash WSP? That's a big question to me, though, because again, we have been talking about the situation where WSP are not doing that very good, right? They're struggling a lot. So I think so it is high time now that they change their drop locations and try to avoid that early fight. Now it comes on with a lot of question marks too, because you've got to change your entire rotation pattern that normally you would revolve around. So the question 8 again could be a double-edged sword yet, but the early fights are definitely not helping them.
And keep this thing in mind, the first game was really solid for God's Reen. Once again, we're back on the square 0, back to the map of Erangel. And for God's Reen, this can be another great opportunity knocking on their doors. If they do grab this opportunity, God's Reen, even they can be there on the top of the charts at the end of the day. And God's Reen is one of those teams that does not back away from the early game fights. They would definitely try to go for those. And speaking about Reckoning Esports, today's day has been a complete off.
True. I mean, this team, it's not just about today itself, right? Even yesterday, you could see their unconventional play style where they would normally go aggressive, try to capitalize on the power play, has changed entirely to the same safe, passive play style. It's like they're facing the exact same issues that Global Esports are facing.
Yeah, but at least they were there in the top 8 though, man.
I mean, Global Esports were also at the 8th position.
Yeah, listen, what I think is that as long as you're going to be there in the top 8, you can easily make the comeback on the first spot. This is what has been happened in the past couple of tournaments.
True.
And anything can happen because the overall standings are still way too fragile. One solid game, 130 bomber on the fray, and you can instantly be back there in the top 3. The plane's gonna hit the skies for the one last time on today's day. And this plane flight path holds a lot of value. And it's pretty much going to be the same one that we witnessed on the game 1. Starting all the way from Jasna Polyana towards the Georgia Pool side. Once again tilted heavily to the northern side. If you want to move down south, well, you're screwed.
Oh my god, with the way how you said it and the fact that you even laughed onto it, because as soon as we both saw this flight path, we knew that it's repeating the game 1 drop locations entirely. But a few teams that are now taking that early exit are Reckoning Esports, moving up over towards Kameshki. I want to see, are we gonna still see the fight up towards Zarki, where Entity took the drop, and then there were also Raven over towards the northern part of Georgia Pool City, and between Zarki, where Raven were obliterated.
Oh my god, Reckoning Esports dropping on Godlike's drop location. Look at what Reckoning Esports is doing towards Kameshki. This will be an interesting one. But Godlike, they haven't dropped over there.
Exactly.
That's the crazy part.
Exactly.
I guess outplaying the opponents off the start, that's one way to put it out. But yeah, for Reckoning Esports, they're not going to get anything in their hands if they do go towards Kameshki. Jasna Polyana completely uncontested. Team X Park, they haven't dropped in towards Jasna Polyana either.
Oh, they are. Are they trying to target the members of 8-Bit though?
I guess, yes, that's the game strat. And
Exactly.
8-Bit, off the start, they've lost out on one player. 8-Bit as well, once again, being treated in the lobby as the free points. But 8-Bit recently, they haven't been doing too bad.
Oh my god.
But eventually, it will be Team X Park. Shadow Shanks the last man.
And Shadow basically turned into a Shadow Samurai out here, playing insane game, losing 3 members of his team, but will eventually revive all of them slowly and steadily, as even God's Reign are now being targeted by the members of MOGO Esports. That's a big, big problem. They wanted to collide for the pit stop, but right now they're losing the members, as again the knife comes into play, and Venom is the one who's standing on top.
Yeah, I mean, this man is just slicing and dicing, shanking through the opponents. Oh my god, MOGO Esports, this could have been way worse. From winning the previous game, or almost getting closer to that, winning to that previous game, to getting eliminated instantly, it would have been a really bad start. But towards Pochinki, you've got another team who wants to grab the opportunity this time. It's OneBlade, because they know there's WSB colliding against Carpediem. OneBlade want to go for that third party.
But that's the thing that's happening here, right? Yes, I understand OneBlade, they've got a nice idea to go for the third party, but look at what's happening over towards the Georgia Pool itself. You've got Godlike, you've got Global Esports, you've also got Raven there. That's a big cluster that's already forming, and that's where the fights are still now happening.
Are you looking at what's going on the right side of the map, though? iQOO Soul and OG right behind each other, trailing. OG's chasing down the players of iQOO Soul. Finally, teams are realizing how much value power play holds. This is what I exactly wanted to see from the day 1 itself. And if this would have happened, OG would not have struggled on day 2. But yeah, Carpediem, they are taking a lot of shots against the foes in the front. WSB, they have dropped down a few members, that's for sure. The players in a really critical condition. Zeref has pinned himself in the backline behind that ball, as even OneBlade want to be a part of this action. And even OneBlade, they have stepped in. They're doing a lot of damage against the foes. WSB trying to rack up as many eliminations points as possible. Shikari's taken down way too low. Even Armand's way too fragile. Pukar's right there. OneBlade, a beautiful nade coming in from Surkar. Catches Max Payne, and Max Payne will be confirmed too. And now Carpediem's down to just this one last glimmer of hope. That's the name of Pukar.
That's a big thing. Carpediem and WSB trying to take the advantage of the fight is where OneBlade decided to move up forward. Some shots being fired, but Shikari cleaned up through. Yeah, Shikari is the only one remaining for WSB as well. That's a big thing. That's a big problem. But OneBlade have only grabbed 2 eliminations. They still need these last 2 players now.
For OneBlade, they're now just being the cleanup crew in the game. Wiping out the entirety of WSP. Now it's time to shift your focus towards Carpediem, considering Pukar is still alive, playing on the staircase. He's waiting for someone to approach him. Pukar's playing on the complete TPP advantage. He hasn't given his position away just yet, while his team has managed to secure 4 finish points. Godlike with just 2 finish points accumulated so far, while you've got GDR with 4, One Blade with 6. That's a really great start. We wanted to see a few more fights towards Georgia Pool, but that's not the case. Godlike, they dropped in towards Georgia Pool this time, and luckily enough, they avoided. They dodged that target from Reckoning Esports. But now Reckoning Esports, they're on the hunt for Entity. And MOGO Esports is on the run. And Reckoning Esports has probably heard all of that commotion, and that's why they're closing on up towards that spot. MOGO Esports should make it out alive from that spot. But now for Reckoning Esports to target Entity, considering it will be a 4-on-4, it will be a tough one to convert in a flawless manner. Pukar gives his position away. Suppressed S12K in his hands, and he does not even have a chance to reply back.
His life has been suppressed in this game itself. And Carpediem, after a decent game on the first one, they are now struggling yet again. With just 4 points, it's not enough. If Carnival, they try to basically make a lead so big that would not be capitalized by just one game. You would have to be consistent on day number 3 now. And talking about that, let's be honest, if WSB and 8-bit, they don't get big 20 to 25 pointers, and that was just 1-2, it's not happening. Global Esports though on the other side, now welcoming the members of Raven 2, as this team is also facing so many struggles, and Global, they only lost on one-man slug.
Oh my god! It's a race between Entity and Reckoning Esports. And Reckoning Esports just want to get rid of the driver so that the race never continues. And Entity, on the opposite side, they've already pinned down a few players of Reckoning. Toy's out in the open though. For Toy, this might just be a big disadvantage. Aquinox ejects outside of that vehicle, but he's in the middle of nowhere, so even he gets knocked out. Reckoning Esports, Hunters is still knocked out. He can be revived. Reckoning Esports down to just a 2-man squad, while Entity, they have 3 players up and standing. Somraj as well is looking to do a bit of more damage. Aquinox gets railed up, and now Entity, Toys out in the open once again in the middle of nowhere.
Lovely.
But the backup is perfect as even Somraj gets ran over. What is happening? Trades happening back and forth. Dinos is out in the open, and he gets eaten alive.
Raiden stepping up for the team big time. We were talking about how this man is super crucial in terms of the fragging, but all of that has been heard by Team X-Park, and they are jumping in. They are moving in towards that area to claim these finishes. Not a lot of HP in the hands of the members of Entity, and they know that there's someone close by, so they will be trying to move forward.
Oh my god.
Wait a second. The player dropped out of the vehicle.
No, they saw this coming. They knew X-Park was on their way. So they instantly try to come up with a desperate plan. And this is the desperate plan, to just back away from this spot because they do not want to fall prey to X-Park. Entity, they've already secured 8 elimination points. From here on out, if Entity do not even challenge any single of the fight, they can still end up with a decent spot in the overall standings.
But they are being chased, and that's a big thing. Team X-Park slowly and steadily closing in the distance as well, because they're just taking the shortcuts, man. This is crazy. As long as Raiden is in the side, they will keep on going in with the chase. Toy has already moved in over towards the other side now. I'm under the water.
Oh my god, X-Park lost track. This is actually pretty smart from Raiden. Raiden lost the sight of the opponents, and then he just straight up jumped in the water. X-Park do not know exactly where Raiden is, and Raiden's sitting inside of the vehicle, and he does not even have the threat of being suffocated to his death because he's constantly going to keep on patching himself up now. He's in that vehicle, and the vehicle's underground.
That's the most important part, as you mentioned.
And as I mentioned, Entity, even if they do not take any fights now, they will still end up in a really good spot in the overall standings.
What an escape plan, man. What a Tokyo drift coming in. Just in the water itself, though. And finally, this seems like the BGMS that we know of. The first stage is about to end. We only have 11 teams remaining.
Look at X-Park.
Yeah.
Off the start, 10 finish points.
That's X-Park for you. They dropped Clash, if I'm not wrong, the members of 8-Bit. Then they also claimed a pick on Somraj, and all of that happened in the power play itself. Not losing even a single member. And if I'm not wrong, that drop Clash was over that pit stop, where they had just one man remaining with a slither of HP. A high ground drop would have just finished him off.
Big separation between Entity. And for Entity, this is not going to matter anyways. As I mentioned, they just are playing for the placement points. And if they can grab a few scraps here and there, it's completely fine. Toy now needs to back up towards Raiden, get him in his vehicle, and then go for a better placement. That's what Toy's doing. The only reason why Toy's moving all the way on the edge of the circle
is to grab a boat.
Probably. But I don't think so even boat's going to help.
No,
Toy's probably just trying to lose the track of the opponents. That's what he's doing, because he probably thinks that he's still getting chased down. That might be a possibility. Because what is he going to do with the boat? It does not make any sense.
The thing is, Raiden can't climb back up from the location that he actually is.
Well, he can constantly keep on swimming to the opposite side.
Yeah, that might take a bit too longer, so that's why I think so. He's getting a boat to move in.
No.
But maybe he's trying to lose the tracks. Let's see. I think so he's getting a boat.
iQOO Soul's down south towards military base. This is kind of weird.
So I'm gonna give you one thing. Probably they use the circle to search, which comes in with the Android devices though, which you can apparently use to make sure you get the information. Now, last time the similar kind of plane path happened, MOGO went in to pick the vehicles and then moved down south in the military base. iQOO Soul, once in the entire Domination week itself, they camped that bridge over towards the ferry pier and they wiped out the entirety of a MOGO. So they probably decided to do the exact same thing, but MOGO just knew better. They learned from their mistake.
Yeah, but now iQOO Soul, they need to realize it's already way too late. MOGO Esports, they're not going to make it down south now, this late in the game, and then go for the loot. So iQOO Soul, it's time to wake up. If that's what they're trying to do, then that's what I'm saying. If it's time to wake up, it's time to get a better spot inside of the zone and focus for the future. While Raven Esports is in the Smack Center doing really good. They've got a nice position. Raven Esports today's day has been a complete letdown.
Not just today, even yesterday. They were just not able to perform. Facing a lot of struggles out there. That's a big problem coming in. Because this team was one of the hot favorites. And even the members of OG, let's be honest, apart from the 8 crucial points that they gained in the first game, they haven't really showcased anything more than that. And they've been losing a lot of those members. They lost Aru and Atanki early on against iQOO Soul. Early on down south when the fight was happening around the area of Mansion. So it's only just the OG duo of OG now remaining alive. And Raiden, as you mentioned, swam back over towards the shoreline. Now will be moving together with Toy. Toy would eventually come to move together with Raiden, as Raiden is in the circle itself. So they're going to get a decent bit of placement points if they survive for a while.
AKOP from OG. I mean, OG realizing the fact that they have been suppressed off the rip. And if this game is going to be another drop, then OG will lose their second spot in the overall standings. While OG was looking so confident after day 1, saying that they're going to build so much lead on the day 2 itself that day 3 won't matter, now OG's lifeline relies on day 3.
True. And all the 4 games of day 3 itself. How did even Venom get these 2 people? That is crazy. He tried to move out. If he decided to stay and fight, maybe he would have got the last one too, but
yeah.
Max yet again. How did Max? I wouldn't exactly ask how. I would just say, why is Max being allowed to play in almost the exact same compound and pull off the same shenanigans against WSB in 2 games of Erangel consecutively?
Well, I guess gotta ask the opponents that he was facing off against. But yeah, one blade coming in out of nowhere, it was definitely a big wildcard entry. And one blade realizing the fact that, yeah, the plane fly path has screwed us over anyway, so you might as well try to take as much advantage as possible of that plane flight path and convert our weakness into our strong suit. And that's what they did. They dropped in towards Pochinki, realizing the fact that there's probably going to be a drop collision there anyways. They made sure that they're dropping on the backside of Pochinki, where there's not going to be anyone. They looted over there and then pushed up slowly and steadily as they were reading the elimination feed.
Smart decisions, as you mentioned. Working slowly and steadily in unison together. And there's not a lot of those players remaining out as well, right? If you look at the teams who actually have 4 players, it's Carnival Gaming, iQOO Soul, Team Tamilas, Godlike. And then it's One Blade and Team Xpark.
Oh my god, Entity moving so close. It's Toy walking into a trap, but what? Instead, he breaks the trap into 2 halves. Toy runs over at Bino.
Smart.
And now all the pressure's going to be on the back of Jonathan. And he's also taking that TPP view. Look at Jonathan. Looking to toss that nade, but he needs to cook that nade to perfection. And if he's able to find the first opener, that's going to turn the tides in the favor of his own team. But Entity, they're doing too much damage in return. They're constantly getting those knockouts against Godlike. As even Jonathan gets knocked out, Godlike is getting too ahead of themselves. Jonathan was up close and personal. His job was to find the opener. But then, instead, he fell prey. He fell short. And now Entity, with the man advantage in the fight, even Punk gets striked down. Zegot, the last man surviving in the fight. And Zegot is trying his best to fight back with just a shotgun in the hand. S12K with just 3 bullets in the chamber. He needs to go for the reload, and that's what he's doing. Fresh magazine available. 8 bullets now in the mag once again to work with. Admino and Punk slowly and steadily ticking to their death, while Entity, for them, even they can bounce back in this fight. It's Toy versus Zegot, a proper one-on-one fight, where Toy is playing the mind games now. He's toying around with his opponent, while Zegot is just looking to find that one single glimmer off the foe. And Toy is peeking out perfectly. He goes for that pixel peek, shuts down Zegot.
Massive play coming in from Toy, and as you said, just toying around with his opponents. But right now, Global Esports, they are being picked apart one after the other. It's Ninja Boy and Arsenal remaining now. That's such a big blow coming into the members of Global Esports, and this day has been bad for them. Only 40 points claimed till now. Probably a couple of position points is what they'll be able to take. But they are just being picked apart, and it was Team Xpark who tried to take a piece off of their pie.
Have you seen Raven Esports? They haven't moved from that spot.
Nope.
They're still over there in the smack center. It's crazy. There's so much going on in the field, and Raven Esports, with the 3-man squad, they're just sitting in that one single spot. They haven't moved yet.
Just like how the saying goes in Hindi. Let the fire bloom out. Let the fire bloom on the outside. We don't care. We're gonna stay inside.
I did not understand that saying at all. It's the first time I'm hearing that. Global Esports, what is going on? Arsalan loses that duel. He gets ran over. And then even Spray God gets knocked down in return. Arsalan gets confirmed that there's no way Global Esports is going to take that disrespect. So even they're looking to reply back. And Ninja Boy, he slaps down his foe. But unfortunately, the man disadvantage counts against them.
Why is it always that Team Xpark lose 3 players and then they've got one person who'll basically give right to all of them? But it's absolutely fine as long as they're getting those points, because they need to put a 20-point banger at the bare minimum to try and stand a chance on day 3 to possibly make a comeback.
13 finish points and a second lifeline for Xpark in this game.
Sarang has also the exact same HP that Shadow had after that first engagement against 8-bit. This is crazy.
Xpark, they've got that spark. They can work with it.
They are lucky that iQOO Soul is not around them and was not around them in either of those engagements.
In my opinion, Xpark, they've got really solid momentum with the eliminations, man. They should just try and go for the finish points here and there now.
Now, yes, I agree. They will also get a few position points now. But I still think that it is wise to hold on for a little longer.
Entity, no.
Yeah, they've been wiped out. It's fine. I mean, they only had 1 player remaining after that.
Yeah, but they still have 12 elimination points, so
big.
Yeah, still quite nice from Entity. They're constantly getting these points, and Entity's probably going to slip under the radar. But my eyes is pinned on you.
Toy is still there, though. I can see him. All the way over towards George Pool.
Yeah, this is the exact same thing happened in Sanhok too, right?
It's fine. Sometimes those mishaps happen. But look at where MOGO is going, all the way over towards shooting range, and that's exactly where X-Park is. AK and Vizjord, such a late rotation. Just want to play in for the position, and again, it's not advisable because it would not give you enough points.
By the way, Raven Esports hasn't moved an inch since the game started. I'm going to keep on pointing that out. Raven Esports, as soon as they were done looting in the first minute or two, they instantly went there in that spot, and they have been there. They haven't moved at all. It's crazy that I'm not even seeing any of those dots move. It's like they've just been sitting over there. They've probably taken a nap, and now they need to wake up. They need to start making something, man. They need to start getting these points in their hands. If they do miss out on the points and just probably end up sealing the deal with the chicken dinner, that's still not going to be enough elimination points to get you in a better spot in the overall standing. So you need to do something. There are so many teams around you. This is the opportunity. It comes in with a high risk, but also a high reward.
Now here's the thing. We've seen a lot of these teams not take a lot of those early fights, but still eventually end up finding 7 to 8 of those finishes over towards the end, and that's exactly what Raven is probably thinking to do. But the big problem is they're at 17 points. Yeah. Even if they get, what, a 20-point banger, all they'll have is 37, and that's not at all close enough to where Carnival and OG are right now. Or even Entity, because with this game, they're at 73 points.
OG, you can see the players moving from the right side. For OG, the breaching point's going to be right behind the players of iQOO Seoul, but that's a really bad spot OG is moving towards. Sarang knocked out in the open. Another fight continuing in the front. Team Tamilas up against Team X-Park as Sarang's the casualty. For Team Tamilas, all the 4 players up and alive, and they instantly start to move. As soon as they found the first knockout, Team Tamilas want to capitalize better. Team Tamilas, they're the hungry ones. They haven't gotten a single elimination point so far, and they instantly want to press up on the charge against Team X-Park. But Team X-Park is doing some precise shooting against Team Tamilas, so that push has been suppressed.
Team Tamilas had no information as to where the second lot of the Team X-Park was. They got one knock and they decided they wanted to move forward, and they've lost one of their main players in the meantime.
Honestly, that was a bad call to make that push in the first place.
Yeah, that was very
And now
bad.
look at what's going on. Raven Esports 2 is taking shots against Team Tamilas. Mr. Erangel knocked out. Team Tamilas down to just a 2-man squad, while Team X-Park now with the pouncing opportunity.
There's also iQOO Seoul out there in the vicinity.
Oh my god, one blade.
They've decided to move in, and Spray God does not have a vehicle to work around with. Sarang as well, pretty low, can be knocked out with a vehicle.
They took their tagline too seriously in this game. And now up against Team X-Park, where looking to hand out some nicks and cuts. One blade. Oh, this storyline is panning out quite interesting. Team X-Park, they do run over that player of One Blade, and now One Blade is getting overwhelmed by the presence of Team X-Park. This is what you like to see from a team like Team X-Park. Moving in like a well-knit unit, playing in together. Sarkar as well gets ran over. What am I watching? It's a vehicle gameplay.
Beautiful performance for Team X-Park, but someone please revive my boy Ninja Boy. Ninja Jord is out there in the open. Alright, Spray God is finally here for the support. But what a play from X-Park, as you mentioned. One Blade tried to come in as a third party, and they get obliterated.
17 finish points from Team X-Park with all the 4 players left alive. Now, this is why, for some reason, I always have that hope from Team X-Park. I always know Team X-Park can bounce back no matter what situation you put them in. Look at this. Team X-Park, they were struggling in the league stage. They somehow made it till the grand finals, and now in the grand finals on the day 2, which is supposed to be the day of comebacks, they're about to establish the biggest comeback that BGMS has ever seen.
What a smart play. They realized that Manti was setting up a bait, and they backed off at the nick of time. And if you've got this awareness, even after grabbing 17 finish points, I guess this team is prime example of, as you mentioned, bringing in that comeback story, and the biggest comeback ever of BGMS Season 3. I'm hopeful too now.
But here's the problem. Team X-Park thinks that the backlines are clear, but slowly and steadily, there's a few teams closing in towards the backlines. Team X-Park, surrounding awareness needs to be on point. If the surrounding awareness is not going to come into play properly for Team X-Park, then they will be backstabbed anytime. There's OG, Entity, there's One Blades, one single man. So yeah, They should not be tunnel visioning just on the Team X-Spark.
Raven Esports haven't moved an inch though even now.
Yeah, still over there.
They had a knock on the team Tamilas too. They knew one person has been taken down, but they still decide not to pounce on them.
That's what you call fear. And Raven Esports right now are scared.
True.
If they take one single bad step, there's a high chance Raven Esports can be eliminated, and even the championship slot might just be taken away from them permanently. So, Raven Esports, that's why they're playing it so scared and so passive. They do not want to go for any sort of desperate moves. Instead, they want to play the patience game. But that patience game can also make you lose out on a lot of opportunity. Showcasing patience in the right moment is fine, but showcasing too much patience when you're not supposed to, that's counted as disrespect.
Exactly, and that's what's happening probably. But there could be a big clash happening between iQOO Soul, Team Tamilas, as well as Team X-Spark. And Ninja Jord has been knocked out. I was about to mention that Team X-Spark is playing with a 1 and 3 split, where Ninja is just too far away, too far ahead. Out in the open, he could be confirmed too. Manya wanted to do that and will be able to. Some cover fire was there by Team Tamilas, and they're trying to get that one finish of the iQOO Soul member, but he'll eventually move back.
Team X-Spark, they're about to have a nuclear game in their hands. They should not mess this up.
Oh, you've jinxed it.
They've already lost out on one player. Ninja Jod, let that be an example. Still, a 3-man squad can make wonders happen. So Team X-Spark, it's better to play a little bit more pushed back. It's better to play a little bit more laid back now. Be Raven Esports.
Oh, they moved, by the way. They're going up north.
Yeah.
But yes, as you mentioned, I also wanted to point out the exact same thing. They're at 17 points right now. There's absolutely no use of playing it a bit more slow. But wait a second, Sarang was able to knock out one member of OG. They managed to wipe the OGs out as Prey God finishes off West Jod too. But Sarang himself was taken out by iQOO Soul, and they will bounce out to them. One player has been knocked out, but wait a second!
Oh my God!
Vehicle comes in the form of Knuckle, and it deletes Team X-Spark.
Hold on to that thought, though. Even iQOO Soul, they've lost out on their manpower completely. And now it's just down to that one last man surviving from iQOO Soul. Oh, this blows. Entity with 15 finished points somehow. Even they're dominating the game still up till now. They've still got one last man surviving. Entity's been so consistent. Toy in the northern side. iQOO Soul's Knuckle is still alive too, wanting to play it a little bit more safe and get those constant points for his team. As Raven Esports on the left side, they finally did make some big moves on the board. And Raven Esports did hand out the death blow to the players of iQOO Soul. But I guess it wasn't them.
It's Carnival Gaming right now, moving in the midst of it all as the fine KSR7 and Destro. He's also in the vehicle, just waiting to be spotted out. That's a big, big problem.
Team Tamilas' game, it is. The zone shifts right on top of Team Tamilas. And I don't think so now anyone's going to be able to stop them unless Carnival Gaming can pull off a miraculous clutch against them. Carnival Gaming's outside of the zone. They would need to try and close on up with the vehicles. But if Team Tamilas connects all of their shots, then only this push can be stopped.
True.
And Team Tamilas, this fight against Carnival Gaming is going to be a game-changing fight for them.
It's going to be the make and break. But in the meantime, though, you also have to take care of the members of Raven on the other side. They're also 3 men strong. Right
yeah, but
now,
Raven Esports, they've got their own troubles to deal with against MOGO.
Yeah, true.
So right now, Raven is not the bigger threat. The bigger threat is definitely CG.
The question is for how very long are they going to decide to stand in that exact same position. Again, playing with a 1 and 3 split. Neo is in the far fray. And with that, Reaper, he's the one who actually finds the opening against Shogun, who was out in the smoke. And that's a big problem for MOGO, as they'll be down to just Destro now.
Team Tamilas, they have gathered all their players on that southern side. And I love this call from Team Tamilas. It could not have been any perfect. They want to stop that push from CG, and now they collide head-on. But Team Tamilas, even they're falling prey. It's trades happening back and forth. It's the players of CG with the advantage, and they come out on top.
Only one of them is remaining though, Hector. He needs to give the revival as quickly as possible because Raven is on the other side. They should have read the feed.
Raven can't make the pounce just yet. There's still MOGO Esports alive, and MOGO Esports is that constant threat. Raven Esports is fighting a lot of those demons in their heads. Keep that thing in mind. Yeah. Raven Esports have been playing passive from the start. So it does not make a lot of sense for Raven Esports to go aggressive right now when they're so close to that chicken dinner and when they're not even sure of what exactly is going on the opposite side of the fray. And that too, they need to face off against CG. That's another tough pill to swallow.
Now this could be the perfect call, by the way, because Destro, he ended up making that bounce, got one knock, but there's still a couple of players remaining, and Goblin is the one who's scouting out the area. Raven, they missed out their timing. Yes, they were fighting their demons against MOGO, but Destro himself decided to pounce on to CG.
They've got the zone yet. They've still got the zone, Raven Esports.
There's Knuckle behind them. That's also a big problem, and I don't think so they know about him.
Yeah. Knuckle can indeed be the spoiler, but I don't think so he's going to have the line of sight that easily.
That's the thing.
So that's another thing for Carnival Gaming as they try to move inside of the zone. Raven Esports, they need to at least find 2 knockouts to bring the fight to a neutralizer. And if those 2 knockouts are not being found, well then unfortunate. And CJ, they've already tossed in so many smokes that the opponents won't even be able to get the line of sight. And this is so brilliant from CG. But now Knuckle can play the spoiler here.
Oh my
God. And CG,
God.
they've got no clue that Knuckle is right there. Knuckle is definitely looking for the striking point. Is definitely looking for that advantage that he's going to be finding soon enough. And Reaper pulls out the A-game up close and personal as Hanzo finds another strike onto that player. It's taken down to a 2-on-2 as Hanzo is there. He prones down. Hanzo gets taken down to return. And now Knuckle instantly brings his team's odd back to win this game. Knuckle all by himself. Tosses in an A2. But CG, they're probably going to get the revival on the fallen player. Knuckle's got too much to deal with right now.
Yeah, he does not know where the couple of players are, where they're getting revived. It's only his power. And that pick is going to go for Knuckle himself. Now it's Goblin and Neo up against Knuckle. It is still doable. Where's the third player of Carnival Gaming? That's a big question that I have. Does not matter. As Knuckle has been wiped out and it's Carnival Gaming getting a winner-winner chicken dinner at the end of the day. Every single game has been consistent for this team, and now they are looking solid on that first position.
It's a humongous game for that team. Looking so good. But iQOO Soul, I guess, disappointed with the way they played that situation. And Ronnie's explaining something to Knuckle, what he could have done better in that previous scenario. But it's completely fine. iQOO Soul, they have been really consistent. Even Entity has been super consistent. Team Tamilas, they have been the burning torch of consistency. And now, for that team, it was quite a great achievement. Let's move on to the stage for the interview.
इस मैच की शुरुआत के पहले you guys were at the top spot of the leaderboard, लेकिन आपने एक भी चिकन डिनर नहीं निकाला था. क्या अब वो भी कमी पूरी हो गई है ना? You ecstatic about it? बोल दे भाई.
4 मैच बचे अभी. काम है हम लोग सेम पेस को कंटिन्यू करना है 4 मैच के लिए. नो एक्साइटमेंट, नथिंग उड़ना नहीं है, बस मेंटेन रखना है.
एक सेकंड, गॉब्लिन, मतलब इस बार हमने एक और चीज़ जो नोटिस की है, जो पूछना चाहता हूँ, इस बार अप्रोच थोड़ा सा स्लो क्यों था?
क्योंकि इस मैच में ना बंदे बहुत कम अलाइव थे. हमने देखा कि सारे टीम्स फाइट ले रहे, तो हमने सोचा कि अगर हम फाइट लेंगे तो प्रोबेबली थर्ड पार्टी वगैरह का रिस्क है. और मतलब चिकन डिनर थोड़ा बेटर लग रहा था और एक सिक्योर पोजीशन भी थी हम पे, तो हमने इजी खेला और चिकन निकाल दिया.
ओके, एस पावर से पूछना है. देखो, एक होता है चिकन डिनर जीतना और एक होता है कि एंड में सोल को हरा के चिकन डिनर जीतना. सो इज दैट अ डिफरेंट, ये देखिए हंस रहा है, ये भी हंस रहे हैं. इज दैट अ डिफरेंट फीलिंग?
कोई डिफरेंट फीलिंग है नहीं, क्योंकि सोल भी एक टीम ही है, बाकी सब भी टीम ही है. सब लोग का अप्रोच, गेम स्टाइल सबका मतलब सेम है, अलग नहीं है. तो वही मतलब उनको मार के ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि उनको मार के चिकन डिनर आया. सबको ही मार के चिकन डिनर की खुशी तो सेम ही होती है.
असली डिस्कशन ना जब ये माइक हट जाएगा, कैमरा हट जाएगा, शायद तब होने वाली है. बट चिकन डिनर मिलता है यहाँ पे कॉस कार्निवल गेमिंग. ये ऑलरेडी टॉप पे थे, नाउ दे एक्सटेंड द लीड. लेकिन लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, अब हम जाने वाले हैं हमारे स्टूडियो की तरफ, क्योंकि लड़के इस गेम पर लंबी डिस्कशन करने वाले हैं.
जख्मी शेर को छेड़ते नहीं, उसने शिकार करना छोड़ा है, भूला नहीं. लेट द कार्निवल बिगिन.
It was OG who said they wanted to build the lead on the day 2, but instead it's CG, I guess, who took those words way too personally. And now they're on the first spot in the overall standings, constantly building up that lead. Last game was a chicken dinner. CG's doing phenomenal, but you cannot really take a lot of those points away from the different teams too, because even Entity did quite nice.
True. I mean, Entity were getting those eliminations from left, right, and center. But apart from just Entity, by the way, Toy doing such a great job to slowly and steadily get those position points too. There was Team X-Park who were finding the teams and eliminating them. They were moving fearlessly like any other team.
X-Park doing exactly what they're known for. They are supposed to be really good in their 4-on-4 firefights, and that's what they finally realized. But as I mentioned, on the last game of the day, all the other teams realized the same thing. That, guys, we do not really have a lot of games left over anymore. The only thing that can help us bring the comeback in the points table is the power play. And that's why everyone started to rely heavily on the power play. And a lot of these teams realizing the fact that we are so good in our 4-on-4 fights, so we might as well start taking those.
And that's exactly one of the main reasons why we saw so many teams fight on early. But here's the other part of the story, right? Carnival Gaming as well. We heard Goblin talk about this in the interview itself. Mentioned that since there are so many teams who are fighting it on early, there's a big risk of that third party. And that's what we saw in a few of those matches, at least in the early on phases. But over that last game, Carnival just decided it's absolutely fine. We've got a good cushion, we've got a good lead. We'll just play in for the chicken dinner to get that consistency of the points of 15, and that's about it. They've still managed to be at the top and build that lead even further.
I mean, in the move fearlessly moments of the day, you can clearly see the map of Sanhok was also quite in a weird pacing, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to see Sanhok start off in a really aggressive note, but Sanhok once again was quite the passive start.
True.
But the zone started playing some big mind games where we thought that the circle's gonna form on the right side, but instead it took a curveballic shift towards the Camp Alpha Island. Shocked everyone. Global Esports for a longer time, they were the one with the advantage, but then Team Tamilas, they came in and snatched away that chicken dinner against Carpediem, considering the zone moved away from Global Esports 2 in the final few moments.
Yes.
Miramar held a lot of value for so many teams, even for Team X-Park, considering they were not able to perform. Raven Esports, once again, they mess up big towards that Chumasera area as they faced off against OG, and OG wasted a lot of Raven Esports' time.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, they wasted a lot of time, which gave in a lot to the other teams to try and find some good positionings, and that's where Entity found themselves too. It was Soul, Entity, and MOGO Esports in a trifecta, where it was just inevitable for a fight to break out between the two so that the third could get that chicken, and it was Entity with a good amount of patience. MOGO getting that second place. It was definitely a heartbreak for them, but it's absolutely fine for as long as they get the consistency, because hearts were warmed when Toy was wiping out the members of Godlike.
Bad day for Godlike and OG. Two teams that were dominating on day 1, now they completely mess up on the day 2. For OG, they did not want to leave that trophy just by the difference of 1 point, but there's a high chance they will leave that trophy by multiple points difference.
Oh my god.
So they need to make sure that tomorrow's day, at least the first 2 games, they need to be the best possible game that OG has ever played.
Absolutely. They need to first of all close down that gap and then also move forward to build the lead. But it's Team X-Park with just 1 placement point and 19 finish points to grab in the first place, and following them is Entity, who got 3 placement points and then 16 finish points with 19 points in total. It is mind-blowing.
This could have been much better for Team X-Park, only if they would have been there in the top 3.
Only if you would not have jinxed it.
Listen, man, Team X-Park, they were taking a lot of those fights. They were always in the front. They were always on their toes. And I guess in the end, they just overstretched themselves.
True.
They overcomplicated things for themselves, and that's why things slipped out. Still in the first half of the board, X-Park is nowhere to be seen, even though they had a really good day today. Carnival Gaming at the top, slowly and steadily, consistently building up that lead, while iQOO not that far away. Even they can be the champions. Entity trailing them really closely. On day 1, Entity did not do too great, but on day 2, it's been a complete different shift.
With the way how Team X-Park played today, they've got to continue that. But there's one surprising thing that I never really anticipated, and that was Global Esports to be on the second page itself.
Yeah.
This team needs to carry the legacy, and I feel the finals pressure is just being taken a lot from them, and that's where they're crumbling now.
I think the only reason why Global Esports is crumbling is because they're overcomplicating a lot of that stuff. They need to play just the way they were playing in the league stage. Global Esports is known for their aggressive approach. That's what the players have been mentioning over and over again, even in the interview. And if they bring back the same aggressive approach once again, Global Esports will be doing indeed much better than what they're doing right now. But on the screen, you see that beautiful TVS Raider, which is our mobility partner. It comes with 99 connected feature, and it apparently comes with a 5-inch TFT screen. That's really wicked.
Indeed it is. And then we talk about Wicked. We've got a list of the most wicked players. Oh my god, I'm getting some deja vus of BGMS Season 2. AKOP with the maximum amount of finishes, 58, followed up by Goblin from Carnival Gaming. How long has it been since we see that one man there?
Goblin came back with a bang. This has been a big comeback for Goblin in the most wicked players list. And for CG, finally someone is there at the chart. CG is one of those teams that likes to focus on the team play much more than the individual play and the fire play. And now in general, we see Goblin over there too in the most wicked players list. This means Goblin now needs to prioritize the elimination points to be at the top and also get that extra bit of prize money and that trophy too.
Absolutely. I mean, you're grabbing one, make it the two and grab both of them. But at the same time, I really like now, since even S Power is also stepping up, he has been that X factor for Carnival Gaming too, because that has taken a lot of pressure off of Hector's shoulder as well as Goblin's shoulder too. Hector, because in terms of IGLing, since S Power was losing his duels, he had to bring in some few other things too. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for day number 2. We still have day 3 remaining, so we'll join you tomorrow.